So I would like to officially make a motion to open the meeting of February 2nd of the Marshfield Conservation Commission, and I would look for a second.
Second.
Was that Susan?
That was Craig.
Craig? Bill, you capture that?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, no problem. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig?
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Rick?
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur?
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan? You have to unmute, Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
There you go.
Perfect.
Vice Chair Burt? Where are you, Burt?
Bert's not here.
Really? Okay. We still have a quorum, so that's not an issue. Maybe the vice chair will be able to join us in a few minutes. And Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. So,
And Joe Ring is a yes.
Joe, I forgot. Let me redo that. Commissioner Ring.
No.
Joe Ring, yes. If you like,
All right, Jim.
I'll go downstairs. I can't go
Jim
home.
Kilcoyne is a yes as well. So now we are really officially open. Thank you, Joseph. I do. And I've got your name right here, Joe. So my apology, Joseph. All right, so we've taken care of that. Bill, you've got the roll call.
There's Bert. Hi, Bert.
Yeah, Bert just signed in, guys. Okay, Bert.
Hey, Bert. All we did was open, so you didn't miss much action.
Okay. Glad
Okay.
you started without me.
Thanks for coming. We do appreciate it. So we don't have any minutes to ratify this evening, so we'll table that to the next meeting. All right, we could. Next, I'd like to move on to the chairman's address. It's the last few meetings, it's been kind of short, but I do have something to bring up with this meeting. Remember, all meetings will continue remotely until further notice. We'll be doing them by Zoom. 3 committees will still in effect. Please keep your device on mute until you wish to speak. 15 items to address this evening, so please make sure your discussions occur to the commissioners so and address everyone equally from a time perspective. Modified rules of Roberts are in effect 5 minutes uninterrupted for the applicant, 1 minute for the administrator, 10 minutes for commissioner discussion. We go to public comment, then we go to vote. Please remember, this is important. Address all comments to the chair or hearing officer. Please be recognized before you speak. Pre-roll call votes may be conducted to gain the perspective of the commission. All votes will be conducted on a roll call with each commission announcing their name and vote. So this is, I think, a great announcement for the town. We've been working for 2+ years on the 505 regulations. I know you've been hearing me talk about this for quite a long time. Regulations have been now disseminated to the commissioners for their review. The next step will be to post the regs and conduct a public hearing. I would expect this all to occur within the next 6 weeks or so. I do have some continuances if anyone's here waiting for Dewey. That is continued to 2/16. Spectrum Homes 14, that is continued to 3/2. Spectrum Homes 16, continued to 3/2. Murphy, Brewster Road, continued to 3/2. We will formally accept those and do a ratification vote on those later on in the meeting, but I just wanted to get it out if anyone those meetings.
Jim, I picked something up. We have a bunch of people coming on, and even though I've got it locked so that to come in, I'm muted, somehow they're unmuting. So I'm having to go back and clear them. So if we hear noise, guys, just call me out and I'll find who's doing it and I'll mute them.
Yeah, they probably just have 2 devices too close to each other that are open. So thank you, Bill. So we're moving next on to the business sessions. I would like to make an announcement that B2 John Sherman Estates has been moved to February 16th. First topic is Carolina Hill Mountain Trail. This area has been historically kept as pristine as possible because it's a public drinking watershed. And it seems that private individuals, for their own personal gain, cut, altered, and or filled 2 miles of conservation wetland. A project that took a tremendous amount of premeditation, time, and energy. To give you an idea how significant this cutting and alteration is, the amount is 2 full acres of conservation land. 11 different woodland species have been endangered or jeopardized. The last known wild mountain laurel was cut and damaged. The trail cuts through a stand of old-growth eastern hemlocks, some of which are 80 feet tall. Conservation Commission has been in contact with the Marshfield Police Department. Town Council has been also contacted regarding this egregious cutting of the public's conservation land. This activity seems in violation of the Carolina Hill land use provisions, number 3, number 4, number 11, number 12, and number 18. Violators are subject to fines of up to $100 per day under Massachusetts state law, Chapter 40, Section 8C. If we're able to identify the individuals, they will be referred to the Marshfield Police Department. We have asked all bike organizations to remove this illegal trail from their trail guides and members to respect that this trail is closed. Any individual found using this trail will be referred to the Marshfield Police. The New England Bike Association has been very helpful regarding this issue. We asked them to remind their members to observe the trail closure. We'd welcome any members to assist us in restoration of our forest. Should any member or individual wish to assist, please contact the Marshfield Conservation Office prior to any work to obtain coordination and guidance of approach. The Commission is always open to ideas and approaches that are consistent with the land use provisions to allow our citizens to enjoy our publicly owned resources. But such activities must be proposed to the Conservation Commission and permitted prior to any commencement of work. This illegal activity should sadden all that enjoy the beauty of nature. This is the people of Marshfield's land. It should never be altered or destroyed for the pleasure of a few for their personal gain. We ask the citizens that observe this usage. We ask any citizens that observe usage of this trail to contact the Marshfield Police Department and the Conservation Commission. And we thank the citizens that brought this illegal activity to the attention of the Commission. I would also like to open that up if any commissions would like to comment on this egregious activity. This is the town of Marshfield's people's land, and there should not be private individuals altering the people's lands for their personal use. So if any commissioners would like to make a comment, I will open up the floor. Okay, hearing none.
Jim, actually, number one, well said. I agree with all that. In addition to that, I've been involved in work on Carolina Hill and the bridle path in that area with the recreational trails group for a long time. And it's a balancing act. And we need to achieve the right balance up there. Many mountain bikers have enjoyed that area for a long time. They're a big help to conservation. They cover a lot of territory up there, and they do a good job of keeping Bill informed. We don't want to do anything to the detriment of those people that have enjoyed it for many years. But this activity that you just described is different from that. And I agree with your statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yes, if my message came across not being thankful or appreciative of that, we've had tremendous great stewards, mountain bikers up there for years. We have multiple trails up there for years. We want to encourage that. This was just, it was a terrible destruction of Marshfield conservation land.
Jim, can I chime in a second?
Yes, Mr. Administrator.
I'll make it short. I just want to say back in November, I actually called before we knew about this. I called on citizens not to do just this, and yet it's happening anyways. We got to work together. That's number one. Number two, we do have a good core. Bert and Jim just called it out. We got biking associations. We got outdoor enthusiasts. These people all want to pitch in. They want to fix the problems, and we want to fix the problems by getting the message out that there are rules and regulations for conservation properties, and there's a 7-member panel that needs to get approval from them in order to do any activity. Going forward, please don't do anything and damage the Marshfield's beautiful gem of properties without getting permission. You're now made a lot of work for me and a lot of people to fix this problem.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. I totally agree with that as well. So Norma would move on now to B2. As I said, that has been moved out to 216. So we'll move on now to B3. This is Spyglass Landing. It's a complaint regarding vegetative management. And Mr. Administrator, I'd wonder if you'd be able to take the lead and bring the commission up to date on this particular issue.
Yeah, I just want to make sure all the parties are here. I saw some that had filed complaints. I see one of them. I know other people are trying to get online. I called them. So we have a good representation here. Bear with me. Okay, I think we got enough representation. Yes, thank you very much for your time. About in 2018, I was approached by Robert Quinn, who's got the background? Who's got the
Mary
background?
Ellen, would you mute? Mary Ellen, you're the troublemaker. You won the prize.
Much better, thank you. So Robert Quinn reached me, and he was concerned about some large trees that were growing on the perimeter of the properties. They're within a conservation restriction under Orders of Conditions SE 42-1668, and so these aren't necessarily what you'd call buffer zones or conservation values that perspective, but they were set aside to allow the project to go forward. In other words, they're open space, and for a long time they've not been cut. Trees have gotten big. And so I worked with Mr. Quinn on a very discrete program and protocol. I educated him. I went over the plan record, talked to him about it. We went to the various locations. We created a set of plans. I said, nothing more than this. Here you need to plant. And he did everything. He was doing everything, periodically over time. In about 2020, a new plan started, and they did some interior tree clearing and some clearing around a detention basin, which can easily be confused as a wetland. And I got a complaint call from Mary Ellen Troy and I think Pat Hurley, and they put together a form letter, which we have. So I started to respond to that, and I worked a little bit more with Mr. Quinn, Mr. Bailey, and Mr. Covey. Came up with a plan and said we need to follow this. And that wasn't satisfactory. They wanted additional requests why I would let any cutting go on whatsoever, and asked me to reach out to the former conservation administrator. I did that. He has a much more strict standard. He was here about 5 years ago. Trees have gotten bigger with time, and some of them are threatening. So he selectively had worked on it in a proactive way with Robert Quinn and his team, whereas Jay Wennemer said, no trees whatsoever. Then when the cutting happened around the detention basin, that kind of ignited things a little bit. And so we have different parties looking at this. And I think what I could just say in summary is we have a perimeter under conservation restriction. We have a small amount of buffer area that's mostly previously disturbed. And we have a drainage basin that appears to be a wetland, but it's actually a man-made detention basin. So it doesn't qualify for protection under the bylaw or the Wetlands Protection Act. And I was asked multiple times to provide a report, and I had given some information, wasn't satisfactory. So I decided to bring it to the commission because they're the people I had to report to. And I think the parties are here today, Robert Quinn, and I believe Mary Ellen Troy, who'd like to maybe be heard a little bit in order. And you will check in with the chair before you speak.
Mr. Administrator, would you have a recommended course of action at this time? Would you rather wait until?
I'd like to let the voices be heard, but please be succinct.
Yeah. How many people do we have for this?
I saw 2 so far.
Okay. All right. So
Troy.
I assume there might be one side and another side. So
Right.
who was the first one that we have here?
Well, the first one I met was Robert Quinn. He's online. Maybe give him a chance to start. And then Marilyn Troy was one of the parties that put the complaint in. So I think she should have a chance to speak.
Okay. That sounds great. We get 2 perspectives then. Mr. Quinn, are you here, sir? You might need to unmute. If you're here, I don't see your name up, but I've got a couple of pages here.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We can, Mr. Quinn.
Oh, good. I really did
If you'd be kind enough, Mr. Quinn, if you'd be kind enough just to keep this very succinct, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, it would be fantastic. State of the main points.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
We don't know what Mary Ellen Troy's issue is. she owns from inside of her condo unit. And we have never done anything inside of her unit. Outside of her unit is the board of directors' responsibility. My job is I'm on the board, and I'm also responsible for landscaping. We have never cut a tree in her basin area. We trim bushes in the retention pond so it won't clog up the movement of water. We really don't know what Mary Ellen Troy issue is. So actually, she should probably go first.
Okay, well, we gave you first option, so thank you very much, Mr. Quinn, for your perspective on this. Ms. Troy, would you be able to? And you do have some severe audio trouble,
I'm sorry.
but we can hear you.
Oh, swell. Actually, my neighbor, Pat Hurley, and I filed a complaint back in April of 2020. And it was explained to us about the retention area that it was permissible. We were both concerned. Both of us bought our properties with the expectation that the conservation land behind our units would remain that way. It was one of the main reasons why we made such a hefty purchase for our properties in Marshfield. The conservation land outside of our apartment, outside of our units, is beautiful. And we were assured that it would stay that way, that it was conservation land and it would not be touched. Around March of last year, all of a sudden, we started to hear buzzsaws that you could tell that there were something was being cut in the back of our properties. Come to find out that there was some water retention area that was being cut back. And then it went to the next step. Here we were in the midst of COVID. The governor shut down things pretty much March 17th. And shortly thereafter, we had members of the community showing up behind our units without masks on and cutting away our trees. This was not the retention area. It was trees right behind our properties. I have a large gaping hole right now that was done by a couple of members within the community. It was not done with the approval of the Spyglass Landing Association board. It was done on individual members. And all I kept asking for was a written report from the Conservation Committee. And instead, I kept getting, and Pat kept getting the same answer. Contact Bob Quinn, contact the board. Well, I have to be perfectly honest. We were the complainants. Why wouldn't we get a direct response from the Conservation Committee as to what their findings were? Why should we have to go to the people that did the cutting of the land to find out what was going on? So what was cut, we can't put back. It's not like I can tape those trees back. I can't, recreate the beautiful foliage that I had outside my property. But the last thing that we want is for something like this to go on in the future. Our fear is that these people that are acting upon what they think is the right thing to do is that they're going to continue to do it. So, I hope I'm being succinct. And in some respects, I never expected it to have to go to an actual meeting. All we had to get from the commission in reference to our complaint was a response directly. Rather than being informed, why don't you contact the board of Spyglass Landing? Why should we contact the board of Spyglass Landing when we never filed a complaint against them? So I hope I'm being succinct. Again, the damage has been done. It's been explained to us that the water retention area was allowed to be touched. I was informed when I bought my property that the trees right behind in the back of my property would not be touched, because ironically, the person that I bought from actually wanted trees removed and was told by the Conservation Commission back in 2017 that she couldn't remove them. Well, I was delighted with that answer, because that's the answer that I wanted. And then out of the blue, in 2020, I have some people within the community cutting down my trees right in my backyard. So,
All right. Thank you, Mr. for speech. Conservation, as you can tell, we are here because we are sensitive to the environment. And you're right. I mean, we face this many times, damage has already been done. Sort of both sides, as well as the administrator now. I guess the question is, as you pose it, is, how do we move forward from here? So maybe now would hear a brief, succinct, rather not a rebuttal from the administrator as to maybe course of action moving forward.
Well, I don't think Robert got to finish, so I'm just going to let him do that. I'll plug in the holes.
At this point, can I answer?
Yeah, I'm deferring my time to you.
Okay. Number one, it's really not her property. It's the property of Spyglass Landing Association. And she owns from the walls in. Anything outside of that. Now, the conservation area is 150 feet behind her house. We have never cut in that area, which is conservation area. That retention pond is completely within our area of responsibility. The board made the decision that we are going to cut some of these trees. Now, no tree was cut directly behind her property or actually anybody along the retention pond. What we had was the landscapers complaining they had a hard time cutting. And we went behind that area, which is the association's property, and did what we call cutting up the skirt. Meaning from the ground up, we took down branches so the landscapers could cut the grass and take care of the area. And that is all we did. As for the retention pond, where we trimmed, not cut down trees, we trimmed the area so these, what would you call them, swamp trees weren't affecting the flow of water to go into this retention area. And this was all done with the permission of the board, which was voted on, and an area that we're responsible for. It is not Mary Ellen Troy's property. She owns 1/84th of that because there are 84 homes in that development. And we have also requested that Mary Ellen come to a board meeting and discuss this with her, and she has not accepted that. She felt she wanted to go to the town. But the board of directors does take responsibility for all of what happens up there, and they are well aware of everything that I did.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. So I think the commissioners have a good feel for the situation here. Mr. Administrator, do we have conservation markers identifying where our land and buffer is?
No, it don't. It might help along the perimeter. It'll add some cost to the entire community, but so be it. I think at this stage, if things don't get resolved in a timely manner internally, I can't be committing time to go out and check every location within the perimeter to find out that, like Mr. Quinn was saying, it wasn't actually cut. There's areas that are crystal clear. So we don't have markers, Jim.
Okay, so we don't have markers. So that's the answer. So one solution perhaps for both parties is, remember, conservation has specific jurisdiction, and we can't regulate outside those rigid areas. So I would propose that maybe the association would be willing to put down conservation markers. They're not very expensive. They're just 4x4s will provide the markers, which will clearly identify what is and what is not our buffer and conservation land. The rest is private property as long as it's not within setbacks from other wetlands, which the retention pond is not, or the retention area. Then I think we've clearly established the scope that the commission can act to any complaint. So I would offer that to both parties. And Mr. Quinn, are you, you're a member of the association?
I'm a member and I'm a board member also, and my responsibility is landscaping.
So would you be willing to take that idea back to the board to see if they can move forward? That will solve any other resident, whether it's Ms. Troy or any others, regarding the possibility of cutting on Marshfield jurisdiction. Is that something you could do?
Are you talking about putting up stakes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Stakes,
Okay.
stakes on our border, it'll protect both. The other people know exactly what can be cut, and your teams or future teams will know where they can't go past.
But one thing is you'd have to survey them in, Mr. Quinn. So you'll need a survey, and I also recommend an as-built plan. I need to end this because this has been a long, lengthy process.
Okay. I mean, that would, we can't just go out and put out stakes. We'd have to have a survey of the property
Correct.
Right.
and find out where these stakes are gonna go. That's
Right.
probably a $20,000 to $25,000 cost.
It's a lot of money. I get it. The cooperation a long way, you know?
Well, so what I was suggesting is, could you look into it?
Yeah.
I've had my property surveyed, and it was less than $2,000. So, I mean, you might have a large property compared to mine. But the question was, could you look into it to resolve these issues? If there is cutting on conservation land, we can order it.
No, we're not cutting on conservation land.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
what I'm
not
saying.
yet.
I understand your position, sir. I'm saying
The
if you
few-
were, we can order it.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, right? So,
I need a point of clarification. Bill, you might be able to help me with this.
Okay,
Um, From what I heard in the beginning, none of this cutting was within wetlands jurisdictional boundaries. Is that correct?
right. They have a tiny amount
Okay,
of.
now the rest of this land, is it under the control of the Conservation Commission in any way? I realize we do not own it, the Spyglass Landing. But do we hold a CR?
Yeah, we do. I looked at it very carefully with Mr. Quinn, Mr. Bailey, and Mr. Covey. And I said right here, Conservation Commission, care and custody. So we own this one. What had been happening, Bert, just to make it simple, was Mr. Quinn came to me. I found 3 discrete areas. I created a plan with him, including some plantings, and I let him go to do the work. He was going to do it over a 2 to 3 year period. This other work got convoluted into it, and it's blown up the goodwill and the working mechanism that we had in place, which would have been very easy.
Thank you, Bill. So I understood it correctly. I believe we can't be the referee for the homeowners association. They need to decide what they want to do and come to you and get it okayed, which apparently they did. I think we're done.
I think one clean way of dealing with it, commissioners, is you could say, we'll go back to the Jay Wennermer and say no cutting at all. But then when those trees fall and crush those houses, we'll have trouble. So I could see pretty clearly they needed to have some relief. And so that's what I was trying to create, is a mechanism to work with the right people on the perimeter only,
So to any other commissioners, does anyone have any thoughts or comments?
I like the idea, Jim, of, at least looking into the possible cost of, markers to demarcate what is what over there. But, if we don't have jurisdiction, where this work is being done, that's really a moot suggestion on my part.
Yeah, it was just an offer compromise to try to meet both parties. I agree with the vice chair. If we have the CR on the land, if the administrator, in my view, went out and said that these could be a personal danger to humans because the trees have gotten older, I am not a big advocate of being black and white in conservation. The town set this board up specifically as a quasi-judicial board rather than a straight regulatory board. So we have discretion. And in this instance, I would support and agree that the administrator's perspective would go out in the field and identifying weakened trees that could jeopardize life. With that, I concur with the vice chair unless any other administrators would like to comment. So I would ask Mr. Quinn, at least if you would bring that up to your committee. It may not be feasible, or it may be feasible. Ms. Troy, I do appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Many times, this is how we find out about egregious things that happen on our properties. An example of that is someone from the public notified us of the cutting of the trail on Carolina Hill. So we do appreciate that. There are certain limitations to our ability that are strictly jurisdictional. So I want to thank you both for both coming in this evening. So with that, we will move on to for DPW.
Okay.
I think, do we have town engineer here, Rod, or who do we have?
We have Paul Tonkovich. He's here, and I think Russell's here as well.
Oh, Russell, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Chairman. How are you, sir?
Excellent. If you just be kind enough to give us a brief explanation of your project.
Very good. Yes, sir. So on behalf, first of all, my name is Russ Kleekamp. I'm an engineer with the company GHD, speaking on behalf of the Marshfield DPW. What the project is the installation of flow meters that are within manholes, extremely close to the vicinity of 2 sewer pumping stations. These flow meters are being put in to manage the I&I flow, which is inflow and infiltration. The State Department of Environmental Protection is requiring towns to minimize this because it costs towns extra money to treat clean water. We are respectfully requesting an exemption to the filing of a notice of intent based on the regulations cited in the narrative. The site plans are fairly straightforward. The 2 pump stations that we are looking at are the Homestead Avenue and the Macker Terrace pump stations. For the Macker Terrace pump station, the manhole will be installed in the paved roadway, and there'll be no resulting impervious surface. All that you will see after the installation of the manhole and flow meter is just a manhole cover. And likewise, for the manhole at the Homestead Avenue, it's being placed just off of the right-of-way. And then once construction is done, all we will have is a manhole cover on top of that. So,
Russell, quick question.
Yes,
Do you want to show these images, or are you good without it?
I am more than happy to share screens and to elaborate further if that's.
Yes, Russell, just quick to the commissioners, do you feel that you need to see pictures of this, or do you feel comfortable with the explanation that Russell has provided us at this time?
I don't need to see pictures.
Okay, you feel comfortable to be able to make a decision?
I'm not comfortable. I saw the pictures online, so.
Anyone uncomfortable without seeing the pictures and making a decision? Okay, then please proceed, Russell.
Thank you. So yes, that was really the end of the presentation. I'm more than happy to answer questions at this time.
Great. We'll move just a quick to the commissioners.
With all due respect, Mr. Commissioner, this is Paul Tonkovich from the Marshfield DPW. There's just one point of clarification I'd like to get from you, Russ. I The plans I have, there's actually a third pumping station as well, and I believe you just mentioned two. Was it the fact that the second, that one of them is not affected by this filing, and therefore?
Correct. The Anderson
Oh,
Drive
sorry.
pump station is outside of the jurisdictional boundary.
Thank you very much.
So two out of, yeah.
So Paul, does that answer the town's concern here?
Yes, it does.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Any comments from the commissioners that would like to add to this? If not, from my perspective, unless without objection, I would like to make a motion that we consider this de minimis activity, and I'd look for a second.
Second,
Who was that?
Susan.
Okay.
All right, then we'll do a roll call vote on de minimis activity, which is Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joseph. You are muted, Joe. You're still muted, Joe. There you are.
Joe Ring,
Commissioner
yes.
Joe. Thank you, Commissioner Joe. Vice Chair Burt
Yes.
and Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. Okay, Bill? So have fun with the project, Russell and Paul.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Nice seeing you. Bob.
Thank you all.
Good evening.
All right. So I think that concludes my fun portion of the meeting till later on. Bill, do you want to do the hearings now? Do you want to vote on the continuances?
I think get the continuances done so we don't miss them, because there's some stuff in here that's,
All right, let me see if I can find them.
gratuitous.
Okay, so we have South River Street, Dewey, SC 422893. I'm going to make a motion that we vote to continue to 2/16 as per the applicant representative's written request to look for.
That's
Yes,
a
sir.
new one. You want to read the, yeah.
Oh, I have to read that one in?
That's new, yeah.
All right, let me see if I can find that.
If you can, I'll read it for you.
Yeah.
You might have not set that one aside, you know?
Yeah, I have this, plus I have a continuance file. If you have it, you can start, Bill, and I'll see if I can find the others.
We'll give you a couple more seconds, right?
My
Okay, you're
continued-
good? You want me to read it?
Continued file. Look what I found. South River, right here. In compliance
Beautiful.
with Massachusetts General Laws 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, 6:30 PM by Zoom for South River Street. And that is, as I said, SE 422893. And I would like to hear a second to continue to 2/16 as per the applicant's.
Jim, I apologize for that. That does not have a number yet. I just noticed you calling that out. I did not catch that. That's the one below it. So this has got no number yet. My apologies.
That's a typo, so we will strike that. This is just South River Dewey and
Mhm.
not have a number. And we'll still move forward looking for a second on that.
Art Loggy, second.
Get that, Bill?
I do.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
and Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. Bill,
Joe Ring is a yes.
I have it right here. Look at this. Okay. Adelaide.
Jim, you want to make
Did you
sure?
read this one in? Didn't we do this one before?
Yeah, these two, you don't have to, you don't
Need
have
to
to.
read these in, right? Okay, great. So,
Jim,
make a motion that we vote to continue to 3-2 Adelaide lots 9, Spectrum Homes, SE 422893. Looking for a second.
Joe, what were you talking about?
he did not call my vote. I want to make sure I get recorded as having a vote on that one as a yes.
On South River? I'll log it down.
Joe, do I keep on missing you, Joe?
I'm gonna go home.
Every meeting it's someone. The last one it was Art.
You have to rotate it around.
So let's do that again just to make it official for him. So it's good. We'll do it really quick. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue South River to 216 as per the applicant representative's written request. And I'm going to follow my piece of paper really well this time. Mr. Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. All right. Struggled through that one. Sorry, apologies to everyone. I don't have to read these two. I'm going to put this pile back down on my office floor. I would like to make a motion that we vote to continue 3-2 Adelaide Lot 9 Spectrum Homes SC 42 2893. I'd look for a second.
Second, Craig Hannafin.
Thank you, Craig.
We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Rick,
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes as well.
Rick, did you go?
Yep.
Okay, 7-0. I missed it. All right.
Okay, Adelaide. SC 42 2895. This is 10 through 13. Vote, I'd like to make a motion to vote to continue 3-2 public meeting as per the applicant's representative's written request. I would like a second for that, please.
Rick Carberry, second.
We got Rick for that one.
I got that.
Mr. Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Mr. Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Mr. Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. Okay, we got that done. And the last one's Brewster, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I have to read this as well because this has been in front of us before. So
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue 3-2 Brewster Zero Road SC 42 2887 to 3-2 public meeting as per the applicant representative's written request. I'd look for a second.
Joe Ring, second.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Mr. Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Mr. Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. All right, we took care of those, Bill.
Okay, got it.
I lost my that paperwork I was doing. Sorry, everyone. Too many pieces of paper here. I miss Bill being here working with me.
I miss you, Jim.
There it is. Right there by South River Street. Okay.
Yes. In our past, in our wake.
We'll now move on to the public hearing section. This 2000 Ocean Street, and I need to read this in, I believe. So in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Code of Town of Marshfield, 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by Zoom to address 2000 Ocean Street. And I believe Commissioner Susan has this hearing.
So, this is the hearing for the Doku Realty Trust. Lucy Poulos is the trustee for 2000 Ocean Street RDA. Bill, I'd like to confirm taxes and fees have been paid and up to date?
Yes, 120, the taxes are paid. 119, your fees are paid. And the ad was published on 127. You're all set, Madam Hearing Officer.
Okay, thank you. Bill, is there anybody to present for this? Is Mr. Wild here or Ms. Poulos to present your application?
You're on mute, sir.
Yes, Steve Wiles, I'm here to represent the project.
Okay. Could you just give us a description of what it is that you would like to do? And
There's a corner cafe that is in the left-hand corner of the building, and they'd like to put a 20 by 50 addition for added seating.
is there any other changes that will be happening in the area surrounding that?
No changes at all.
All right. Bill, do you have any, I'd like the administrator to make any comments if you do, if you have.
Sure. I'd met with Mr. Wilds. I think he was looking at a building permit. I told him that he was in Riverfront and with the project. It's a previously disturbed environment, so it seemed the appropriate vehicle. And I worked with him to prepare it, and he's prepared it. However, in looking at it a little closer, and I did tell him there was some prior history with the project, and there had been a fence in the back that had conservation markers on it. There were trees on the side of the property and in the back. And as I delved into it more in interactions with Madam Hearing Officer, it became apparent that there was a land restoration enforcement order that became an after-fact notice of intent that then closed out. But when I look back there aren't a whole lot of trees. So that's that. But I thought it was all fine and it could go forward. But when I went to the site, it looked to me like the back of the parking lot, the fence was gone. And it looked to me anyways, like it had been pushed back further. And it looked further that there might be some trees removed on the left-hand side of the lot, and it might have been pushed back further. I don't know what other commissioners thought of it, but those were my initial impressions, and I'll leave it with the commission.
Commissioners, could I invite your comments, please?
Yeah, what it is the fence was there in the back, and that was done in 2012. And what happened is snow plowing over the years had broken the fence. The fence is onto the right-hand side of the property in a pile because it had blown down, broken from the snow plow pushing the snow against it. But there's been nothing added to that parking lot. It stayed the way it was, and there was shrubbery that was planted per order of the conservation back in 2012. And the only thing that was taken down as far as trees was to the left of the property, to the neighbor to the left. They pushed that parking lot a little bit bigger because when the restaurant had a tent put in during COVID, they needed more parking, and they did have the property there to do that. And they put a crusher mix in there, like a processed asphalt, as an extended driveway there, and they took down some trees, smaller trees, I guess. I don't know how big they were, but that's the only tree that was taken to the left-hand property line, not in the back where the wetlands are.
Well, that confirms two things.
Okay, yeah, you finished, Bill? I'd like to move on to the commissioners.
Yep.
Commissioner comments, please, if you have any.
So,
Yes.
Susan, may make a comment.
Yes, please.
It seems like this is jurisdictional because of the riverfront. Although it seems a fairly small change. We had a previous, I think, closed out COC that we addressed that there was a fence there that demarked sort of like don't go past that. And I totally understand, right? Snowplows are going to do that to a fence. That's why we really don't usually put up fences ourselves, because that's what happens to them. You think we could, with the commission, if we can identify where that fence was, put down markers. So while we're doing this, improving this project, so we'll know exactly how far that driveway can go in the future.
It doesn't have to go anywhere. There's plenty of parking for the 20 by 50 addition. I think we needed 8 additional parking spaces, and they're already there. Anything has to be done to the parking lot at all. Now, if you'd like to have the markers put back in where the fence is, yeah, we could do that, no problem.
Any other comments?
Yes, Susan, my comment would be, we're looking at 2 different parcels here, 2 separate parcels. I'm wondering if the RDA for the addition could move forward. I mean, I see no problem with that. But as far as the rest of it, it's significantly different from the Merrill restoration plan. There appear to be a lot of trees missing in addition to the fence and the markers. I would suggest that be handled separately when we can go out and look in decent weather and really see what's supposed to be there. I realize there's going to be some loss over the years, but this seemed like a lot more than you would expect. I'd be curious if what the other commissioners saw.
Any other commissioners?
Commissioner Susan, may I help the vice chair out on this? Bert, I totally agree with you. But they got a COC on the project without ongoing conditions. So the commission at the time was satisfied that there were enough plants, and they seemed to be satisfied that they had the growing season. So I don't know if we can go backwards on that. I agree with you. If we can get markers where the old demarcation the commission wanted don't go past, I'm good with the project moving forward as is.
I'm in agreement with actually both of you. I don't have any concern at all with the building at all. I'm just concerned with potential for encroachment from parking and unintentional. You've got cars out there. It's a busy commercial property, probably has delivery trucks, and it's a busy place. So I think that any encroachment that we might see a change could very well be unintentional. So the problem is it's a very fragile area. There's natural heritage endangered species, map priority habitat, partially overlaid, it looks like, in the parking area. So I think having some delineation that will alert people that they can't go past that. So the question is, how do we come up with that line? Do we try to recreate it from where the fence was? And I agree, I don't think that we can deal with this now because there's snow on the ground. I've been out there twice trying to make sense out of it, and it's difficult. The original site plan does show that the gravel parking lot originally went right up to the 75-foot wetland line buffer zone. The buffer zone. That's hard to determine now. And the only issue, and I'm not, again, if we can go forward with separate these two issues, I'm fine with that. But the wetland delineation is old. It's 9 years old. And generally speaking, we only allow wetland plans to be considered after, by 3 years. They expire after 3 years because wetlands change. And they can move forward, they can retract. So it could actually be beneficial. They could have retracted further. That 75 line could be further back. So my question is whether we can properly delineate the parking area to prevent from encroachment into the fragile buffer zone to the riverfront area with the existing site plan that we have. So I'm putting that question out to commissioners.
In 2012, when that fence was put in, and there were markers on that fence, who initiated that?
That was the Conservation Commission.
The Conservation Commission.
Yes,
So
that
you
was
allowed
the Conservation
them to put the fence up there with the markers.
Right. And they came up with that plan based on a site plan and a professional survey, wetland delineation done by a wetland scientist. And so generally speaking, those plans are only good for 3 years in terms of applications. And it depends on what we're doing right now with this, whether, I'm sort of have mixed feelings about whether or not we should get a new wetland plan so that we actually know exactly where this line should be, the do not disturb signs, the wetland markers, in case that is changed.
We haven't changed anything in the parking lot, though.
No, I'm not saying that you've changed the parking lot. I'm just.
No, right. And there was a fence there, and that was approved. So why would you have to why would you have to have an engineer come out again? Because it has nothing to do with the addition.
Well, no, it's jurisdictional because you're here, because any impacts the parking area is impacted by, it's a business. And so cars come and are associated with the business. And it is our responsibility is to protect the resource area, and anything that happens within the 100 feet that could potentially have adverse impacts to the wetlands is our jurisdiction. Do you understand? So if anything if it's impactful, cars in the buffer zone would be impactful. That would be something we need to be concerned about. So my question is to the commission, I should poll the group and see, do we feel like we can work with the wetland line as the plans that we have, go out and have Bill look at the site with you, Mr. Wilds, and see if we can determine where the parking lot ended before and put markers in there.
That would be the best thing, because they spent a lot of money having that surveyed by Merrill.
I understand that. And this is.
So that would be a nice thing to do, is go out there.
I don't know if that will be acceptable to people. So what I'd like to do, we do have the right to ask for new wetland delineation. I just
Yeah.
want to be clear, but we're not trying to make this more difficult for you. So what I'd like to do is just poll the group and see if they're comfortable with using the existing wetland line and then going out and having Bill put in some wetlands, some conservation markers to delineate where the do not disturb at the 70-foot line, 75-foot line. Does that make any sense to people?
Makes great sense, Susan. Why don't you just roll call vote it and poll it?
I would like to, Mr. Ring, Joe Ring,
I think that I would go with the existing plan.
existing. Rick Carberry,
Yeah, I'm on board with the existing plan too, markers along that line.
the 75 line. Okay. Craig Hanafin,
I am comfortable with using the prior 75-foot line.
okay. Bert O'Donnell,
I agree with the rest.
okay. And Art Loggy,
Art's in agreement as well.
okay. Jim Kilcoyne,
The only caveat I would have is we're entrusting this decision to the administrator and putting a lot of responsibility on him on that to be able to identify that. And if the administrator does not feel he can adequately identify where it was, to be fair for the applicant, so it doesn't go closer or to the wetlands or the way, that then we would require a new wetland so we could identify it. But if the administrator feels confident, I'm good with it as well.
Bill,
Well, you're gonna have to go out and find the nubs in order to do that. And as I'm not a surveyor, it'd be very difficult. Mr. Wilds, what's your experience with surveying?
Well, I was surveyed once. If we're going to go with the same line, I don't see why we couldn't have Merrill go out there and
That's right.
remark those.
Why don't we have Merrill go and put them where they belong, and then I'll meet you and I'll confirm it. And then you can put them in the field, and then I'll confirm that, and then I'll report to the commission.
Okay, what about the okay to do the addition though? We're really it's
Yes.
two separate items.
They're trying really hard to separate the two things out so that the addition can get rolling. That's what the intent here is.
right.
So I'll have to have that survey done before I can get the okay from you, the sign off to.
I would like that personally so that I don't have to chase it down. I chase a lot of stuff down. I think you've proven to me you get things done, and I'll bet you within a week you'll have that done. And then once I have that and I have the field locations tagged, I can sign off on your building permit.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay, then.
All right. Any no public comment at this point? Okay. Well, with that being said, no further comments. What I would like to do is vote to approve the project and a vote to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a -3 with special conditions that can be outlined by Mr. Grafton.
Right. Mr. Wilds, you will ensure best management practices and building codes are followed. Obtain all subsequent permits, including the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. Make sure that they're consistent, of course. See Conservation Administrator for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities. But within 1 week, separate from this, I will have a plan, and then in the field, I'll have stakes that I can look at.
Yes, I'll get right on that tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Mr. Wilds.
Thank you.
That being said, could I have a second to the motion, please?
Craig Hanafin, second.
Mr. Ring, Joe Ring? Joe Ring? Muted?
Muted again by, I don't know how it happened. I'm not doing it on purpose. Joe Ring votes yes.
It happens. Okay. Commissioner Carberry?
Rick Carver, yes.
Commissioner Hanafin?
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Loggy?
Art Loggy, yes.
And Commissioner Kilcoyne?
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
Kilcoyne, I'm sorry. And
Fine.
Susan Karen, yes. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. So now we'll move on to 26 Little's Lane. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd at 6:30 p.m. by Zoom. Request determination for applicability for 26 Little's Lane. and I believe Commissioner Susan won again.
All right, so this is Mr. Snyderman, and your consultant is Brendan Sullivan. Are either of you here? Oh, I'm sorry, before I jump ahead. Bill, are the taxes and fees up to date? Bill?
I'm checking on that, yeah. Sorry about
Okay.
that. Were paid on the 20th of
Okay.
January, fees on the 11th of January, and it was published on January 27th.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is an RDA for an on-site septic upgrade, a small carport, and 2 small additions to a house within the 100-foot wetlands. It's a buffer zone, and it's a bordering vegetated wetland and salt marsh. There's no natural heritage endangered species mapping, and it's in the North River area. So is there anyone here to represent this project?
Yes, Brendan Sullivan with Kevin Hour Consulting.
Okay, thank you.
Could I share the screen to pull up the plan, maybe?
Yes, please, that'd be great.
1 second here. Let me find you, Brendan. Here, it should come your way.
So can everybody see the plan up there?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So good evening. As for the record, it's Brendan Sullivan with Kevin Hour Consulting. This is a property, 26 Littles Lane. It abuts the North River on the north. It goes down to, it does abut the Rote Marine down at the bottom, down at the river down there. So there's an existing failed septic system that we have approved through the Board of Health and the North River Commission. We've been in front of them as well. So I talked to Bill, I'd asked Bill about this, whether it would require a notice of intent or an RDA. He suggested an RDA at this point. As you can see, the closest, so there's the septic system repair consists of a retaining wall and some fill in the backyard. The closest to the wall is approximately 75 feet to the BVW. There are 2 small additions in the back as well. 1-story additions on the back lower level. There's one here about approximately 350 square feet. There's one just outside the 200-foot riverfront that's about 60 square feet. And the carport you mentioned it's outside of all your jurisdiction. It is within the 300-foot natural bank of the North River Commission. So we obviously have a riverfront, we have a floodplain, we have a BVW, and like I said, the 2 additions, one of the additions is outside the 200, one is inside the 200. It's about the closest to the riverfront is about 181 feet to the one of the addition. There is existing flagstone patio that's over some grassed area on the bottom lower level of the house back there, which the addition will be going over. So it is previously developed. I think that's really about it. Any questions from the commission or public?
Mr. Grafton, do you have any comments on this?
No, to Brendan's point, he's right. He's got the exemption. He's got 2. He's got the scenic rivers exemption, and he's also the riverfront, and he's also got the 50 to 100, which is where the septic is partially located under 310 CMR 10.053. The old wetland line expires, I think, on the 16th of February this year, so it's still good. I walked this before. I have no issues with it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
Oh, looks straightforward, Susan.
Here. Yep. I agree.
Okay, no further comments from them. Anybody in the public here that has any concerns? Any abutters or others concerned? Okay, well, it does not appear that anyone else is concerned. What I'd like to do then is make a motion to approve the project and issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a -5 for the 2 state exemptions, which are 310 CMR 10.03, section 3, and 310 CMR 10.58, item 6J. And a -3 with special conditions, which, Bill, would you like to read those?
Yeah, Brendan, just pass this along, please. Ensure best management practices and building codes are followed. Obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals, Board of Health, and building permits. See the Conservation Administrator for guidance on permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Okay. Could I have a second?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Could I have a second, please?
Joe Ring will second.
Okay. Rick Carberry,
Rick Carber, yes.
Craig Hanafin,
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Bert O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Art Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne,
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
and Joe Ring.
Joe Ring, yes.
Yes, and Susan Karen, yes.
All right, that's good. 7-0. That one's closed out. All right, anything else, Susan?
Yes, actually, it just has come to my attention that I did not get a second on the motion for 2000 Ocean Street. So would you mind if we did that vote again, just to be sure?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Great. Let me catch up to you too. Go ahead.
Okay, you all set?
I am all set. Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, do I need to read the motion again, Bill, or?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I'll do it for you real fast. That one was, your motion, Madam Chair, was to vote to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and -3 with special conditions.
Right, exactly.
I got that one. Number 2 then.
Could I have a second on that, please?
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
Thank you. And I'll go through, Joe Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Rick Carberry,
Rick Carber, yes.
Craig Hanafin,
Craig Hanafin, yes.
Bert O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Art Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne,
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes.
yes, and Susan Karen, yes. Thank you for that. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Good pickup, Susan. Good pickup.
Okay. So it is now 7:36, and we're moving on to 75 Riverside. Bill, I believe I've already read this in previously,
That is correct.
so we don't need to read the legal ad. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Burt.
Yes, thank you. I believe I see Darren Grady. Are you gonna present, sir?
Yes. So at the last hearing, I presented a proposed house on this lot that was approximately 36 feet from the wetland that is only jurisdictional to the town's bylaw. At the hearing, you had asked me to look at some alternatives to see if I could get the proposed house outside 50 feet setback to the wetland. We looked at a couple of alternatives, one being using the existing footprint that we originally had, and I was able to get it to 45.8 feet. And I am presenting that alternative tonight, but we also looked at shrinking the garage from 24 feet wide to 22 feet wide, and we're able to just get it at the 50. We are wondering if there was any way that the commission would allow us to build this at the 45.8 foot setback. At the last hearing as well, although it wasn't discussed, but it was brought up just briefly, there was some conservation marker discussion. We were trying to be proactive, and we did add those to the plan. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Bert, real quick, just points of order. Just for the record, Mr. Commissioner Laggy has filed a Mullen affidavit, so he's eligible. He missed the last hearing. Is there anything else going on? Anybody need to recuse? You're mute. You got to unmute, Susan.
I think, yeah, Susan recused last time.
I'm recusing.
Okay, thank you.
Clean that up for you, Bert. Okay.
Okay, we discussed the wetland line last time. Bill, have you got any comments on this?
The wetland is delineation, I don't. As far as the project goes, we've been told by council that the crux of this is segmentation. Whenever you move closer to the wetlands. So that's something you have to wrestle with, I'd say, period. Mitigation is important for the commission to be able to exercise its discretional authority. So that's something to consider. When I look at this, Darren, thanks for doing a nice job on this. Personally, my take would be I'd want to save the entire tree line minimum. That's how I see it. That might be the mitigation for me, but I don't vote, so I'm just throwing that out there. I can't think of a whole lot more other than I think we need to make sure that we have the full impervious I can't remember if we have that or not because we're going to have patios and such in the back of the yard. And that is an impact that needs to be considered. I'm just searching around. Darren, where is the impervious table on this one?
I do not have an impervious table on this one.
Okay, very good. That makes it difficult on the commission one. All right. I guess that's just my comments for now. And then consistency with other permits.
Darren, do you have a material for the driveway?
We're proposing is bit concrete. As we changed, looked at alternatives, the driveway got steeper as we pushed it towards the street. We're going to need to keep that as bituminous concrete. A gravel driveway would not work.
Okay. And there's nothing else proposed as far as patios or anything else that's not shown on the drawing?
No, nothing else. We do have the deck and the Four Season room in the back that is above grade.
Okay. I went up there today and took a second look to try and look at the tree lines and look at the condition of the trees and the shed that's being removed. As far as my feeling is the difference between the 45.8 feet and the 50 feet would not make a significant difference. What I would ask is if you would be willing to push out the conservation markers to the tree line in return for getting the 45 feet. And don't answer that yet. I need to get input from the other commissioners to see if there's general agreement on that.
I'll help you out, Vice Chair. May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to get on officially that there is, Ms. Grady, different ideas within the commission over these types of properties, whether they're actually new, right? Which would be 75 feet. So the commission struggles with that. This existing property has an existing house, but that house has gone away and it's a brand new house. And now it's getting much closer to the wetlands.
It's an existing lot with an existing building that was
Correct.
built in 1953. It's in dilapidated condition. I'm sorry, Jim. Did you finish your thought?
Okay, thank you. So I'm just saying there are different views within the commission. That's all I'm trying to say. I personally think the project at the 50 feet was the one that I would definitely vote for. Because I might be one of the ones that consider this actually a new structure. Although, as you can see, there are different views on the commission. And that's what a commission's for. But the vice chair offers I think, a compelling argument. I'm looking at that tree line, and that would achieve, to me, just as good a wetlands protection objective as the other. And so I would be willing to go either way that the applicant chooses.
Other commissioners, your thoughts?
I think this is Rick, from my perspective, I think we've typically gone along the lines of a hard line at the 50, and we've asked a lot of applicants around a lot of projects to spin houses, shrink houses, do different things to adhere to that sort of thing. And encroaching and going closer to the wetlands is typically a no-no. So I understand the mitigation points that Bert's making, but I don't know. I like to see structure like this out of the 50.
Okay, at this point, I think we're polling the commission, so, Craig, I'd like your thoughts.
I would agree with Jim that I would prefer, and Jim and Rick, I would prefer to see it out of the 50. However, your suggestion of mitigation and saving the tree line does seem to serve an equally strong point to protecting the wetland. So I would be willing to do that.
Okay, Art?
Yes, I think that Rick articulated exactly where I was thinking on this, in that we've done an awful lot of things with this 50, so I think it should be out of the 50.
Okay, and Joe?
I'm not going to do anybody any favors. I look at this as potentially a new project and ask why we're not at the 75. Understanding that the homeowner has a piece of property with a house and wants to live there, I can understand the 50. It's only 4 feet. And the impact on the driveway kind of makes it a little tough. The mitigation for the tree line almost makes it palatable. So I think I'm willing to take the tree line markers for the 4 feet. And that comes close to making some reparations, if you will, for being so close. Not an ideal situation.
Okay, I need to run through the votes here to make sure I got this right.
Bert, can I make a suggestion? Just why don't you pick one and see where they revolve around it, and then you'll be better off.
Okay, I guess before we do that, I should ask Darren if it would be acceptable to move the conservation markers.
Can I get some input from Matt and Diane?
You may.
Hi there, Matt and Diane O'Connell.
Would you want the to keep the tree line and move the conservation markers to the tree line and have the house at 45.8 feet, or would you want to keep the markers along the 25-foot setback and put the house at 50 feet away from the wetlands?
I would almost say move to 50.
I guess I'm just trying to make sure that I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm not sure that I exactly do. That's the only reason I'm hesitating. Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah,
more,
so
maybe?
right now there's these conservation posts. They're 4x4 wood posts that have a plaque on them. And the plaque says no disturbances beyond those markers. So what we're looking at is they currently propose 25 feet outside the wetland resource area. We need to move those to the existing tree line to allow the house to be put at 45.8 feet away from the wetland. Or we may be able to keep them at the 25 foot where your disturbance would go right to the 25, or you'd be allowed to do it to the 25, but the house would be at 50 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say 50.
Okay, whatever you think.
Yeah, so my name is Matt O'Connell. Thank you for your time tonight. At this point, we might as well just go with the 50-foot setback from the wetlands.
Okay, and that's with the smaller garage, correct?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so commissioners, we seem to be at, what is it, alternative A, Darren?
I think it's alternative B.
Alternative B.
Okay.
Yes, alternative B.
Final comments from the commissioners. Is this acceptable to all?
Yes.
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 Okay, I'd like to open up this up to public comment. I hear none. In that case, I'd like to close the hearing and make a motion to approve the plan with special conditions. Bill, would you like to list the conditions?
Okay. Mr. O'Connell, after you get this permit, before you start the work, you will need to register both sets of orders with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds and provide evidence to the Conservation Office, and also post the town bylaw sign. I made a mistake there. You won't have a state order of conditions. You'll have one set of orders of conditions you'll record, and then you'll have a town bylaw sign you'll post. You need to follow all pertinent bylaws, including Marshfield, exactly. Obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Make sure that they're consistent, because if there's a change, we have special condition A, and you'll have to come back to the commission for those, to address those changes. Ensure erosion control is in place and do not use hay. May introduce invasive species. Applicant will observe 310 CMR 10.05 that no work shall commence until all applicable appeal periods elapsed. Coordinate pre-con site meeting with conservation administrator. During the construction, ensure best management practices and current building codes are followed. Ensure the footprint of the undeveloped subsurface remains open or use pervious coverage only. As we don't have the pervious table, that'll be difficult. Most post 5 permanent conservation markers described with red and white. No disturbance on 4x4 rot resistant pressure treated cedar equivalent posts as referenced in A general information item 8. Conservation markers and posts remain in perpetuity. Damage or decayed conservation posts or markers shall be replaced. Mowing and vegetation management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. Condition remains in perpetuity. After the proposed work, ensure the footprint of the undeveloped subsurface remains open. We use pervious coverage only. Conclusion of the work, remove all the erosion control, and see the conservation administrator for guidance regarding any work activity. Remove, fill, alter, or dredge within 100 foot of the isolated vegetative wetland depicted on the final approved plans. So, new structures, you need a new permit with the Conservation Commission. Activities inside the 100. You need a conservation permit as well. That's it.
Bill, did you want to get the impervious table?
I definitely do, but that's up to the commission.
Well, we put it in as a condition that we add that to the plan.
Okay. So, Darren, can you get that to us by Friday at 12 noon?
Yeah, I can do that.
Very good. DG will provide a newly revised plan. Alternative B with impervious by 12 noon, Friday, 2/5. Got it. Thanks, Bert.
Okay, so we've heard the I've made the motion and we've heard the conditions. Have I got a second?
Joe Ring will second as amended.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Roll call vote. Rick?
Rick Carber, yes.
Craig?
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Art?
Art Loggy, yes.
Joe?
Joe Ring, yes.
Jim?
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
And I'm a yes also, so it's unanimous, Bill, with one recused.
Okay, we got a 6-0. Okay, Susan, you coming back? Very good, Darren. Nice job.
Thank you.
Well,
Have a good night.
Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it. Enjoy your new home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now moving to Falcon Close. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held in the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday. This is not January 19th. It is February 2nd at 6:30 by Zoom to consider. Maybe I didn't need to read this. This is why I did that. 35 Falcon Close.
Yep.
Because I must have read it in before.
Correct.
So the hearing officer is That's correct.
This, I'm sorry, I have confirmed that the taxes are paid. Do we have confirmation on the abutters bill?
We do. They came in on the 26th of January.
Okay.
And it's published. It's all set.
Okay. This is an in-ground pool, shed, hardscape, and landscape project in bordering vegetated wetlands zone. Is someone here to present this?
Yep, this is Scott Fenara with Grady Consulting.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Good, Bill. How are you?
Great.
All right, so the proposed project here consists of the construction of an in-ground pool, shed, hardscaping, and landscaping within 100 feet of a BVW. The existing site consists of a single-family home with utilities, paved driveway, and maintained lawn. There is bordering vegetated wetlands to both the east and the west of the property. And the applicant here is proposing to install an in-ground pool and shed within 100 feet of the BVW, but keeping outside of the 75-foot no new structure setback. Their project also proposes some tree removal and installation of both hardscaping and landscaping within 100 feet of the BVW. There is no work proposed within the 25-foot no setback. And there's silt sock erosion control proposed along the entire driveway, excuse me, the fence line and the rear lot line, which again is greater than 25 feet from the BVW. And there is a dry well proposed to handle any backwash from the pool system as well. At this time, I'll open up to any questions.
Bill, do you have comments?
Sure, Madam Hearing Officer. So I went out there on that Jack Frost day on the 29th, and I met the Balbonis and got checking out the property and the wetland line. And I saw John Zimmer's line to the, I believe, south of the property. I'm not looking at the north arrow right now. Let me go find it. To the east of the property. And when I went to the back, I saw a bunch of stakes and it made me think a little bit. I looked at the plan a little more carefully. And there's a second wetland line that's coming from the, I suppose, the north side of 27 Falcon Close. And I didn't get to see those wetland flags. So they were actually taken by Merrill back in the day off of an old plan associated with an old order of conditions for 35 Falcon Close, SE 42 -1456, which was issued on January 18th, 2001. So that's something I wanted to point out. There is no impervious table that I could see. Scott, do you have the impervious table? Did I miss it?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. The area where the pool is being located is currently vegetated with primarily upland plants. It's saplings of white pine, primarily mixed with oaks, etc. The adjacent to the property is natural heritage habitat, but this property is out of natural heritage habitat. And it occurred to me that maybe an alternative location in the lawn, even though it's close to the wetlands by our rules and regulations, might be something that was preferred. I don't know if there's conflict with the setbacks or the septic or anything, but I thought it was something that the commission ought to consider in terms of looking at this. So I thought there were at least three things that the commission might want to consider, and those are them. Wetland flags on 27 Falcon Close, impervious table, and then maybe swapping out the non-disturbed area for a disturbed area, but you'll be moving close to the wetlands. So that's the rub.
If I may address the proposed location change, there is an existing septic leaching field, leaching trenches in the rear of the property, and there's a 20-foot setback distance that has to be maintained for the in-ground pool. So putting it in the backyard in an area that's already cleared would likely put us into that 25-foot no-touch zone. And again, this just keeps the greatest separation from the wetlands and the minimum setback distance to the septic system.
Yeah, it's up to the commission, Scott. Good point, so.
Do I have comments from the commission?
Yeah, this is Rick. I'm very familiar with that property. I used to live kind of around the corner and have nothing but fond memories of that neighborhood, and been back there in that backyard a number of times. I think that, to my view, the plan looks good, and you know, with the point that Scott just made about maintaining distance from septic architecture, I think locating it where it is currently shown on the plan makes sense to me.
Anyone else?
I just want to point out that I'm happy to see a dry well being used for the pool backwash. We don't often see that, so I think that's a very good feature of the project.
Commissioner Craig, may I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
This is in a very delicate area. You've got wetlands on one side, you got wetlands on the other side, you have national heritage on the other side, although not on this property. So it's a very environmentally sensitive area. I think we have good counsel that maybe relocating that pool, the commission have to think about it, would put it in previously disturbed, but much closer, and it might be a bit of a challenge. We have old wetlands lines. I don't know why we don't have more up-to-date wetland line. I do like to have impervious tables kind of for everything. It just makes it easy to have that kind of set rule. For me, it's a definite down in any type of, you know, velocity zone or something like that. We don't have a lot of waves here, but the issue that I primarily have with this is, well, the only issue I really have is I would like everything out of the 75. So we've got a fairly significant coping area that still would provide tons of egress around the pool, and you could get that entire structure out of the 75, and then I don't see how it would be really super jurisdictional for us at all. Thank you.
I have a question for Scott about the wetland line.
Okay.
Yeah, the line that the wetland that's on the adjoining property, is it 27? Since John Zimmer did the other line, did he look at that line? Did he confirm it?
I don't have an answer to that question.
Well, I actually can, Bert. No, he didn't. He didn't know about it. It happens. You know, this is an abnormal layout.
Did you look at it, Bill? Are you?
No, I didn't. What I did was I picked it up because Grady's always really good about showing all the wetland lines, and they didn't actually flag it in the field, but they used the old Merrill plan. So it's not what you call true surveyed point to point. It's based on the Merrill plan, and so they've estimated it on here. I'm sure it's pretty accurate, but it's not the same as the one that John Zimmer did, and then Grady delineated with their 25, 75, 50, and 100 back there.
Anyone else? I am in agreement with Jim that I would like to see it out of the 75. And I'd also like to see the impervious table and the wetland flags on 27 Falcon Close. Are there any comments from the public?
If I may address the 75-foot setback.
Please do.
Topic. There are no structures per se going inside the 75-foot no setback. The shed and the pool are both outside of that. So what you're seeing there is really just some tree clearing, a fence going up, and some landscaping and patios. And
So-
we can certainly add the impervious table to the plan.
Go ahead.
Where the steps go down, is that a wall on either side?
Yes, there is a very small retaining wall.
But that would be a structure in
Hardscape.
75.
Your stairs are a structure. Your walk is a structure. Your drive is.
Amanda's a structure. They're all structures.
Check out 505-16 definitions on structure.
So I would like to see this redrawn outside the 75. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but if we were to ask for that, we could then get the wetland flags on 27 and an impervious table too.
This is Art Laggy. I did file a Mullen on this, and I do agree with Craig.
I would agree with Craig as well.
I would also like to at least see what it does.
Okay. Then I would like to move to continue to a date certain. Bill, can you speak to that?
Well, Scott, how much time are you needing? This would be due for the 16th. It's due on the 9th at 12 noon. Can you make that?
Just so I'm clear on what we're asking for, we're asking for a redelineation of the wetlands on the opposite side of the property.
No, we're actually asking for a fresh delineation because it's no longer valid. It's never been done for this project. So we're asking for it, period. Go ahead, next question.
Yep. And then the next question is we're looking to move this entirely outside the 75-foot.
The commissioner.
But not within not closer than what we're proposing per se in the area that's already cleared.
Correct.
Okay. And Bill, if you could just repeat that date again.
Yeah, if you go for the 16th to be in front of the commission again, then 12 noon, February 9th. And we have to hold things to the hard and fast date. We have been a little lax about that and we're suffering behind on that. So it's either the 9th, the 16th, or whatever the date is the week before, March 2nd. Always the
Okay.
Tuesday or at 12 noon.
We would like to request for the 16th then.
Okay.
We haven't voted on the continuance yet, have we?
We have not.
Okay, one other point, would we be, since we're gonna have another plan anyway, are we looking for any conservation markers?
This one's got a fence around it, Bert. I don't know. If you saw the pictures, I don't know how valuable they're going to be. I would like to see them not get in any further on the wetlands that John Zimmer did flag. So that could be a big bonus. On the front of the lot there, Rick, you're familiar with the lot?
Yeah.
That's a really nice wetland. It's kind of got a little finger in there and maybe put conservation markers there.
That'd be okay.
Just a couple of markers, fine by me.
So around John Zimmer's current flags there, Scott, maybe start with the first one and wrap around every so often so that, and then you and I should figure out where they go.
Okay.
Contact me, okay, please?
Sure.
Yeah, my suggestion would be on the existing fence, they could go right on the fence. I mean, it's just, you just want to maintain that line in case in the future that fence goes away.
We'll work that out, Scott.
Okay.
Contact me, please.
Okay. I move that we continue this to February 19th. Do I have
February 16th?
February 16th. Do I have a second?
Second, Susan Karen.
I got you.
Okay. Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Kurt O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Carberry,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Joe Ring, yes.
Chairman Kilcoyne,
Jim Kilcoyne is yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes.
Okay. Scott, you gotta find me through Liz too. It's easier. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. I'll help you out.
All right, thanks, Scott. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in. All right, we're gonna now move on to Dean Roosevelt. I do want to make a note that it is now 8:10. The legal in compliance with the regulations, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetland Protection Act, the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294. Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd, 6:30 p.m. by Zoom to consider order conditions filed by 18 Roosevelt Road, and the hearing officer is Arthur.
Okay, Bill, confirm the taxes been paid,
Yeah.
the butters notified, you got the file numbers?
Correct. The file number's recycled from the past because it's amended. The
Okay.
expiration date won't change. Butters were processed on the 26th of January, taxes on the 20th of January, the fees on the 26th of January, and it was published on the 27th of January. It's all yours, Mr. Hearing Officer.
Okay, so this is the resource areas of Barrier Beach, Coastal Dune, and Flood Zone. I think background, a little bit of background information is important to this one. Originally, this project came to the committee in November of 2019. It was approved for repairing the existing foundation and making it FEMA compliant. And now we have the project back before the commission to amend the orders of condition because it was discovered that the current foundation is not capable of supporting the structure that they thought it was in the original hearing. The situation is such that Bill has gone to the building commission to get a reading on whether or not pilings are necessary for this. We currently do not have exemption to this, and I think the building commission is still looking into this matter. I still want to have the discussion tonight, but I think we're going to need that information. I mean, typically we would, to me in the past, would have pilings required, those without footings. So with that, let me ask someone there is going to present the project.
Yes, good evening. This is John Zimmer with South River Environmental on behalf of the Maddens. Just a point of clarification on why the foundation needs to be replaced. We originally came into the commission back in 2019 for a partial replacement of the existing foundation, which was approved with smart vents. Subsequent to that, when Mr. Madden went to get the work done, he basically could not find a contractor to do the work within that 50% value of the entire residence. So that necessitated him having to go to a full foundation repair. It wasn't because the foundation could not support the existing structure. So a couple of things to just discuss with the commission. Understood that we are waiting on the building department. We have had some discussions with the building department. Mr. Madden and his representative have spoken to them, and they said basically that they would go along with what the commission discussed or approved. And in reviewing the building code, and I've gotten way more into the state building code on this than I ever thought I would. There there are standards for what type of foundation is required in various resource areas. And Mr. Lucky was correct. In areas of barrier beach that are functioning coastal dunes or coastal beaches, those typically require a pile foundation. I'm not sure how many folks have been out to the site and taken a look at it, but it would be my contention that the area is basically an upland within the barrier beach and not a functioning coastal dune. And if you want, I can go into probably more detail than you want about the definitions of coastal dunes and the function of them. But the proposed foundation is going to be a significant improvement over what's there now. What's there now was basically the original foundation. It doesn't have any flood vents. It doesn't comply with the performance standards for a structure within land subject to coastal storm flowage. So in replacing the foundation, we're incorporating 4 new flood vents, which would allow the coastal flood waters to move through the site in a manner that it doesn't do today. In addition to the foundation work, I did discuss the potential for a pile foundation within the property, and Mr. Madden indicated that the installation of piles would likely necessitate having to raise and rebuild the entire structure. It just isn't. It's a very small lot, and he wouldn't be able to raise the house sufficiently to get in there to do the piles. Take that for what it's worth. I know that cost and other things like that really don't factor into your decisions, but that is a consideration for the applicant. In addition to the foundation repair, Mr. Madden is also proposing a deck off the back to be supported on sonotubes, as well as replacement of an existing landing in the front and a small set of stairs on the side to access an existing deck. So those are changes from what was originally approved in the original notice of intent and order of conditions. So that's basically what he's looking to do. In a nutshell, I'm happy to talk more about coastal resource areas and coastal dunes and the performance standards under the state building code. If you read into that section, which is specific to coastal dunes, the requirement for piles is to allow for the movement of the dune material through the property. If you've been to the site, you can see it's not an open sand area. It's not a raised landform that's deposited there by coastal overwash. The actual property is probably 200 to 300 feet to the west of Ocean Street. So the water and overwash and flood waters from the ocean side don't reach 18 Roosevelt. When it floods, it's coming around the backside. There are marshes, which basically is part of the definition of a barrier beach because there are wetlands on the landward side. The flooding is coming around from that area, if and when there is that coastal storm event. So I've spoken for more than enough time. So
Okay.
to open up some discussion.
Thank you, John. I want Bill to make some comments next. I believe that these construction requirements for coastal wetlands do require pilings. Would be nice to get the building commission's input here, but Bill, would you give your comments next?
Joe makes good points, but both the state and the town websites both call this out as barrier beach. Definition, just real quick, under 310 CMR 10.29 is barrier beach is generally composed of coastal dune and coastal beach. So we haven't deviated from that. We don't care if it's functioning or not. The commission treats it as coastal dune. There have been more than a few cases where a number of us have been at training courses and seen that people, they've drilled right through the road to determine whether or not you're on coastal dune or on a non-coastal dune. There's a definition for it. It has to do with sediment. So if they wanted to deal with the fact that they're not in coastal dune, then they can get a soil survey done to come back to prove that it's not. This has been done in the Warren Harrington era. It's done with us under a property at 50 Ocean. That's the way to deal with that, to determine that it's not coastal dune. So I would recommend that to the commission and to John. A lot less money than putting the house on piles and having to rebuild it, because he might be right. The other thing is it's an AE flood zone, and it'd have to go up on 1 foot. And if you look at that matrix that I sent you, it's not terribly difficult to read. On the left-hand side, it has the various flood zones, and then it says in or not in coastal dunes, and it has the various types of work that's going on. And almost every one of them, when you're in a AE flood zone, basic in a coastal dune, says specifically open pilings without footings. So there are exceptions on the bottom left-hand corner, and I was hoping to get an answer from the building commissioner, but that was tricky for the prior building commissioner, and it's probably tricky for this building commissioner as well. So I'd recommend a soil survey if you want to get out of coastal dune, John.
So I'm going to ask the other commissioners for their comments. I just want to make a comment before that, that I think we've got two choices. We get further and we either continue and get further information on this, or otherwise, if we have to vote tonight, it seems to me that we need to go with the piling. So let me ask other commissioners if they have any comments. Hearing none, I would ask the public. Jim, were you going to comment?
I would just say I concur with the direction you're going. Try to get something from the building. If John wants to look at soils, otherwise, unfortunately, this seems like a pile foundation zone.
Real sorry, I saw someone I missed on my notes for some guidance for John, and just run it by the commission. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Very short. John, I don't see the current FEMA on here. I see AE9, but he needs to call out the right firm up plat, okay, on an updated plan. And I don't see resource areas either on here. So the engineer should put that on for you as well, okay? Thank you. That's it.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this? Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to make a motion that we.
Mr. Hearing Officer, could I just make one more comment, please?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And I'll be quickly. If the commission is going to consider this, and I will go back and speak to the applicant about doing the soil work per Bill's request. But if the commission is going to consider this coastal dune, the building code, basically states pile foundations for coastal dunes that are significant to flood control or storm damage prevention. So if we do decide that this is a coastal dune, then I would like to make the opportunity to rebut the presumption of significance associated.
And we can come back to that. I think what we're looking at. I mean, it's unfortunate that we don't have the building department, building commission's interpretation, whether or not there is an exemption here or an exception to the ruling. And I think in the past when we've done this, it seems like the pilings were in order. But I hear what you're saying. So, but we're going to need this other information. So I'm going to make a motion to continue. And is it reasonable for the next meeting for the 16th, or should we go till March?
I think I'd appreciate going to the 16th if you don't mind, and if we're not able to get that information, then I'll certainly request.
You can ask. Okay, so we're going to go for February 16th as a date certain on this motion to continue. May I have a second?
Joe Ring will second.
Thank you, Joe. And let me go to the commissioners. Let's start with Chairman Kilcoyne.
Yes.
And Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Hannafin.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Karen.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Carberry.
Rick Carberry, yes.
And Joe, I should have probably gone with you first, saying you seconded. Commissioner Ring.
Joe Ring, yes.
And Art Loggy is a yes.
Okay. All right, John.
7-0.
12 noon, the 9th is the due date for any changes. You know, if you do a new plan, should either be accompanying building commissioner's comments on exceptions or soil survey to get you out of Dune. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Loggy. We will now move on to our next agenda item, which is 196 Atwell. I'm gonna make note of the time at 8:25. Massachusetts General Law 131, Section 4, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, by Zoom to consider notice of intent filed by 196 Atwell Circle, Marshfield, Mass. Just a point of order, Bill, do we have the abutters?
On this one, we actually do not. Wait. 1 second. I think we got these.
Okay, while you're looking at that, then I will also announce that the hearing officer for this is Commissioner Craig. You have the floor, Commissioner Craig.
This is handled by Morris. Paul Gunn, are you out there?
I am.
Paul, I didn't check this off because the file is broken from the office. And at the time, you got the abutters in, right? You sent that the other day. Am I correct?
Yep, you emailed me last night. I was out of the office on Monday, but I sent them first thing this morning.
I said something about COVID. Okay. Yes, they've been done. I just don't forget. I think the date was the 31st or the 1st.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, did you read the legal ad?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Did you?
I'll read it again. All right. The Regulations, Massachusetts General Law 131, Section 4, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, by Zoom, to consider notice of intent for 196 Atwell Circle. Get it now, didn't we?
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Craig, if I messed that up.
Okay, this is a proposed deck and shed. The resource areas are bordering vegetated wetland and salt marsh. Is Mr. Gunn here to present this?
I am, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. As previously stated, my name is Paul Gunn. I'm a design engineer at Morse Engineering. I'm here tonight to represent Joe and Molly Caveno for the notice of intent at 196 Atwell Circle. The site currently sits a single-family dwelling with associated lawn and asphalt driveway. It slopes in a northerly direction towards our resource areas, which, as previously stated, were a BVW that was delineated by LEC Environmental, as well as a FEMA Zone AE, Elevation 10. There are no DEP Zone A's, Zone 2s, or any estimated priority habitats for wildlife on the site. The proposed work is a shed and a raised deck. The raised deck is proposed to be lifted on 3 12-inch sonotubes, as well as 2 concrete pads for the stairs, in addition to the shed, which I believe will be supported by concrete cinder blocks. The shed is proposed at 26.1 feet off the bordering vegetated wetlands, and the raised deck is proposed at 14.6 feet off the bordering vegetated wetlands. No work is proposed within the FEMA Zone AE. Currently, the proposed work would result in a 6% increase in impervious area, which on this site equates to approximately 145 square feet. All the work is being done on previously disturbed area that is currently lawn, and as I mentioned before, there's no direct alteration to either resource area, and the deck shall be raised, which will help limit disturbance. We're proposing an erosion control barrier at the limit of work to prevent any destabilization or mitigate any runoff into the resource areas. And we've also proposed several conservation posts along the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland. I believe they're currently set at 30-foot intervals, which results in 4 posts along the edge of the wetland. And finally, post-construction, of course, all disturbed areas will be stabilized with loam and seed. I believe that is all I have for the commission at this time, so I'll send it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grafton, do you have comments?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer. Let me just look at my notes on my site plan. Paul, thanks very much for putting the conservation markers out there proactively. It's always greatly appreciated. That's right where the slope breaks. Is that correct? It looks like it to me.
Yep. Right
So
where the slope breaks.
Those are red and white conservation markers with the no disturbance. All right.
Yep.
Now, there are also, if you look to the left of the shed or perhaps the west of the shed, there is a blue line which represents the town conservation property over there. And I think we should have a couple of green and whites along there so that we don't have any encroachment issues down the road. Not now, but down the road. These are very nice people. They really are aware of the town conservation, but if they move, somebody else might come in and cut that thing. So I thought we should catch it while we have the chance. Let's see, you're impervious, impeccable, thank you. And it's relatively straightforward. I had no issues with the wetland line. The deck is coming closer, so you have to say, you have to deal with that. It's moving closer to the wetlands. That's it. The shed would not be closer to the wetlands, in my opinion, because I think the closest point of the property is further than it. So it's just the deck moving down to 14.6. How many posts and sonotubes do you have going on there, Paul?
3 sonotubes. They're the small black circles, 12-inch sonotubes, and then the deck will cantilever about a foot, which is where the 14.6 comes from. So the sonotubes are more like 15 to 16 feet away at their closest.
Okay. That's kind of helpful. I don't know what the commission wants to do about that, but that's something you have to wrestle with.
Thank you. I have a concern about the amount of deck that is moving beyond the 25. Do other commissioners have comments here? We're getting.
I'll help you out, Craig. So this is a typical example of what we struggle with all the time, right? So we have a house at a 25 and the applicant wants to move closer. Typically 25 is a hard stop. And once again, why the commission struggles, this is previously disturbed. It would be, I guess, pretty much pervious because it's open decking, but it's now moving into the 25, which we're pretty solid on. This is what we struggle with, and for obvious reasons, because we want to find a way to say yes, right, Mr. Craig?
Yes.
How I've kind of gotten out of this before, and might be a compromise, you still have your deck, but you don't have as big a deck, is we allow going sort of lateral, but not closer, so you have that little, on I guess it's the north side of the house, that section that comes out with the deck's pocketed into. Maybe it just comes across where that current line is, and unless I'm reading this wrong with the shaded area, maybe you could help me with that. Anyone here to help on the engineering side?
Yep. So sorry. Are you saying that you're suggesting perhaps holding the current exterior line of that bump out on the existing structure, which would be the the red outline with the hatch? Are you saying hold that as the farthest edge of the deck and then carry that across?
Yeah. So we'd gain a few feet that way, and then we wouldn't actually be having the house go closer. It's like it's going straight across, is what I'm saying. Is that correct? How I'm reading it?
Yep. Yeah. I completely understand what you're saying.
We voted that way before, Commissioner Craig. I'll hear it back to your hearing. That would be my view. The applicant gets their deck And then from a commission perspective, it's previously disturbed, but we're holding the line and we're not really going, although the line moves a little, we're not going any closer per se to the well.
Thank you.
That's a good solution, Jim.
I think another option, I hate to confuse things because that works, but if they wanted to change the location of the conservation markers and pull back their lawn a little bit, I mean, that cantilevered area of the deck, I don't see that as being much of an impact on any of the natural resources.
Thank you, Bert. I was considering that also in sort of mitigation for that intrusion past the 25. If we could sort of move the conservation markers in by a foot or so along the whole line, could buy us a little extra protection back there.
Yes, from my standpoint, I'd give the applicant either option.
I agree. I think that seems like a good compromise. And also decks are not impervious. It will actually, I think, keep people away from the wetland because they'll be up on the deck instead of down on the ground, and they'll be able to utilize that space more, I think, a little better, and perhaps reduce some of the risk of intrusion into the wetland, even though it, obviously it's the deck itself is close, but because it's elevated, I feel like that gives us a little room to consider this.
Any other comments? So, my proposal would be to pull the deck back flush with the house and move the conservation markers maybe a foot in across the line. But I don't know, do some commissioners want to leave the deck sized as it is on the plan currently?
No, I don't.
I would if the conservation markers were shifted.
I would if the conservation markers were shifted.
Okay.
I agree. I would be in favor of that as well.
Okay.
I prefer the deck to not go any closer than the existing structure, and then allow the deck with the mitigation of the movement of the markers. If the applicant agrees to that proposal.
Right. I would be in agreement with Jim. Stay inside the footprint of the house and move the markers.
What is that going to do to the stairs, Craig? Those stairs coming down off of that deck look awful tight, and I think that's one of the reasons they probably went back out that extra distance.
Can you address that, Mr. Gunn?
I can. So yeah, that certainly is one of the reasons. Like I said, it is a raised deck. So if we were to keep the edge of the deck flush with the current edge of the house, we would have to look at the stairs again. But I think it certainly would be doable. The stairs might just get a little steeper, but I would also have to determine, the exact height of the raised deck and take a look at that. So I think it would be possible to do that, but I would have to speak with Joe and Molly Caveno about the particulars.
Hey, Paul, why don't you take a look at trying to have your egress at that, I guess, north corner there where the two stairs are, have it wrap around so you egress there instead, and then do what the commissioners want with the decking. That would get your stair situation fixed. It'd have to require a little walkway there and then a L to the stairs, and you can get off that deck. But that might solve your stair problem.
Sorry, could you repeat that again? So
yeah.
Wrap it around which end?
So you see where the shorter stair is?
Yeah.
So take that 90 degrees around where the 12 elevation is and wrap it on the left-hand side of the property. So, and then bring the deck all the way back. You can walk out, in other words, on that side of the house instead. And you can get the footprint that the commissioners are looking for.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's certainly an option.
And then you don't have to have the elaborate stairs, which, are part of the problem.
Yep, certainly. Yeah, that's certainly an option that could work. And if I'm not incorrect, I do believe that the applicants are in the audience. I don't know if they have any input as to what they either prefer or be willing to do in regards to either of those suggestions.
This is Joe Covino. My wife Molly is sitting next to me as well. I do know that the stair calculations as is with that 2 foot, that is actually a 2 foot overhang from the existing property line. Right now the house is 14 feet. That's a 14-foot jog. So I was looking to just max out dimensional lumber at 16 feet, and that provided me a 3-foot landing at the top of that staircase. The suggestion by Mr. Grafton, that would, if I understand you correctly, I would pull in the deck so it would only be 14 feet out.
Yeah.
But with your suggestion of moving the stairs to that side of the house, I would actually gain more deck space. But I believe it would pull it back from that corner of the wetlands that's delineated. And that 14-foot would, I don't know if it would grow a lot, but it would grow. And I could definitely take a look at whether or not, because the land is sloped on that side of the house, and I'd have to relook at the stairs. But as Paul suggested, it might just be a little steeper. But
if you think about it a little differently, Mr. Covino, you see where the red line is? That's the 25-foot setback.
Yes.
They want to minimize getting closer to the wetlands in there. And if you look at the square footage of what's beyond now and what will be beyond later, you want to reduce that. That's what they're trying to get to.
Okay, I understand.
And the dimensional lumber, we get it, but we have these conservation jurisdictions too.
Yeah, I can hold the 14 feet. It's
yep,
understandable. Thank you.
Okay, any other commissioners? Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this? So do we need to continue this, or can we vote for a correct, contingent on the change of plan?
Madam Hearing Officer, it's a deck. It's not like a addition. Mr. Covino, can you give us some extra time so we can see the plan? It means one more hearing.
Yes, I can get it in by the 9th. Would that work?
Yeah, you'd be back on the 16th and wrap it up, hopefully.
Sure, I will. I'll get with Paul to make the revisions.
Beautiful.
Commissioner Craig,
Yeah.
just so we understand what we're asking the applicant to do. Maybe we might want to review that so there's no errors, so it takes them another hearing as well.
Okay. We are asking the applicant to keep the back edge of the deck flush with the existing structure, move the staircase, relocate the staircase down the other side, and agree to move the conservation markers in by 1 foot across the back of the property.
Okay, and just
Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, I think that is it. That's the template, but reducing down the square footage, Paul, in the 25-foot is their ultimate goal. So if you just think about it that way,
yeah,
then you can engineer it out.
Yeah,
I don't
certainly
sit here for 20 minutes and mess around with that. You just want to reduce down what's in the 25 right now to satisfy the commissioners by all means necessary.
Sure thing. Yeah, I understand.
All right. I am moving that we continue this to February 16th.
Great.
May I have a second?
Everyone will second.
Joe Ring. All right.
Okay. Commissioner Art,
Art Lagi, yes.
Vice Chairman Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Chairman Jim,
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes.
Okay, 7:00. All right, we'll see your plan on 12 noon, the 9th there, Paul and Mr. Covino and Mrs. Covino. And then we'll see you back here on the 16th.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you very much.
All right, so commissioners, we're now moving to 308 Ocean. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 by Zoom to consider a notice of intent for 308 Ocean Street. And the hearing officer is
Commissioner Ring.
Commissioner Joe Ring.
Yes. So this is an NOI for a new deck on a house that was built in 2019 on land that is subject to coastal storm flowage, and it is in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. And the project is submitted by ECR for Moaz Elsney. So Bill, if I could confirm that the abutters have been notified, the taxes have been paid, the fees have been paid, and I did not find the DEP number.
Okay, that came in at the 11th hour. Sorry about that, Joe. I don't know if I got a chance to send that to you as an email, but Brad and I and Liz got that, and it came in today. So we did get that today, so I shall note that. So we do have the DEP number. The abutters were notified on the 12th of January. Taxes were paid on the 11th. The fees were paid on the 26th, and it was published on the 27th. You're all set.
Thank you. Is there somebody here who would like to present for the applicant?
Yes, sir. Brad Holmes with ECR here representing
Hi, Brad.
the notice of intent application filed for 308 Ocean Street. Thank you, members, for letting me present this application. What we're proposing is, as Mr. Ring described, a proposed deck on a single-family home. The property is within the buffer zone to a seawall, so we're in the buffer zone to the coastal beach. We have the 25, 50, 75, and 100-foot buffer zone offsets from the coastal beach. And the entire property is within land subject to coastal storm flowage. The existing house is elevated on piles, and what we're looking to do is put a deck on the ocean side of the structure so that it is also elevated on piles significantly over the elevation of the flood zone, so that the homeowners can walk out of their first floor elevation at approximately 21 feet onto a deck. So the deck it also would be at an elevation 21 feet, 5 to 7 feet or so above the flood zone. It's a pile supported deck. There's 5 piles proposed. The deck is 612 square feet in size. The underneath of the deck, the existing surface of the deck is generally a gravel area, fairly void of vegetation. And it's as simple as that.
Thank you. It does look pretty simple. Does the Conservation Administrator have any comments he would like to bring up on this?
Yeah, I mean, it does look pretty simple and straightforward, as Brad says. Yeah, just to go to the background, I had chatted with Brad briefly. The project originally was built as a raise and rebuild, and then it got amended after an official complaint because they put pads of concrete down below the house. This is before Brad got involved. We did an amended order of conditions. They got an ongoing order of conditions, and that included, sorry about that, I get a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions. It included the plantings that were required under SE 42-2652. and those plantings were supposed to be remain intact and thrive. So ensure the planting associated with the as-built dated September 25, 2019, prepared by Webby Engineering Associates, signed stamped by Joseph Webby PLS, remains healthy and robust. I think we can see it dead and dying. So that's an issue for us because ongoing conditions means in perpetuity. The deck is pretty minimal, but there's a bit of segmentation going on. There was also a parking or a driveway that Mr. Moans had brought to our attention, and he got a de minimis deviation on that. So everything's been done, but there's a slight amount of segmentation. I'm not going to sit here and say a deck with a couple pilings, it's raised up, is a big deal. But this is your chance to make sure that the plantings actually work, because Brad Holmes is here, and this is supposed to continue to function as per the ongoing conditions, and hopefully as per these conditions. That's it.
Thank you. That's one of the that's the opportunity I see is to deal with the plants. There's been quite a bit of, in my view, segmentation on this, and I think that we should look at these plants. Is there any discussion by commissioners?
Commissioner Joe, may I make a comment?
Yes, please.
When did you say this house was built?
Well, he did it in about 2017 or so, 2018.
So they qualified under the 75 foot, right? But the lot obviously was so small, they got a 50, right?
Well, this got permitted maybe in.
It was after 2000.
Yeah, to be honest, it got permitted before I arrived. I built about.
There was a house. There was a house there for 50 years before that, Jim.
Yeah, so that's why they put it. That's why they put it there, right?
Right.
But it's once again we go back. It's a new house. All I'm saying is, now we're moving from the 50 almost to the 25. Setback shall be created so no disturbance or alterations occur within 50 feet to a building or structure shall be placed within 75 feet for any new construction or development. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we just did this with a deck 2 seconds ago.
Yep.
And so we're going now from 50 to the 25. Okay, that's my only comment. This might be a place to have a deck on the side. You still get to have a deck, but you're not going closer to the wetlands or the beach.
I think there's town-owned property on the left-hand side, and then there's a condo, like type property.
27.5 feet, Mr. Grafton.
Pardon me?
You have 27.5 feet.
Gotcha.
Any other commissioner discussion?
Just a question for Bill. Have you got your computer open, Bill? I thought this was all Coastal Beach.
No, this is not. It breaks around 9, I think. What's that street? Bryant's.
And everything around the tower is Coastal Dune, right?
No, it breaks. Yeah, I'll have to. There's a zip line that the state uses.
All right. That's fine, Bill. My only other thing is, since we have Brad's expertise, I don't think you were in on this the first time, Brad. Are these plantings, do you believe these are, will this group of plants survive?
He doesn't know. It's the plant.
I haven't performed an evaluation of the plantings. I could do that. I'd be happy to assist and get an update to the commission. Obviously, we can't do anything now. But as Bill said, they're required to maintain those. So in any event, whether it's this application or just part of their certificate of compliance conditions, they'll need to maintain that, and I'd be happy to help them with that this spring.
Just some background, Brad. So Bert described it perfectly. It's an old house. It is attenuation area, lots of marine debris, and there was still a bunch of vegetation. The commission wanted the area vegetated. Mr. Moans made an effort to do it. Didn't get attended to. It died. Because as you know, it's a desert environment over there practically. So you need to attend to it, and you need the right person on it. He pretty much did it on his own before we required qualified wetland scientists like you.
And we had a hard summer this past
That's
year.
right.
A lot of plantings didn't make it.
Yeah.
As far as the deck located at the 50 and landward of the 25, I wasn't involved in the old house rebuild project. So I can't really opine on that very much, but as far as the construction, they probably could have located a deck here because it was reconstruction of a home. And it would have met the setbacks if they had included a deck in that time.
It's just a huge deck, Mr. Hearing Officer. It's 34 feet by 18. It's huge. I mean,
Huge.
I'm just saying, do we have to go? I'm not saying not to have the deck. Do we have to go that? It's huge.
Gets people up off the surface and they can go out their front door. I mean, in this location, there's not even any turf below. It's on top of gravel. I included the pictures in the notice of intent. I don't really know what we're saving by reducing it, but I'm open for discussion with the commission.
How do we get around the segmentation issue? The house is not that old and they're doing this in 2 steps. I don't know. Last time I sat with town council, they said that this was not allowed at all.
Did they really do it in 2 steps? Because if you look at it, they came back with, well, they built the house, then they came back with the footings and the driveway. Is that 1, 2, or 3? You could argue that, and now is this 4? So does that really make a good example of segmentation? On the other side, when I looked at the property, the other new houses nearby had the decks about the same size and would wind up being very near the same distance from the seawall.
Really?
Yeah. Any other commissioner discussion?
Yeah, I think we just have to look at the conservation values. I mean, I see the seawall there as a structure right in front of it. I truly don't see the harm of that deck.
My view, I think it was nicely stated by someone, I don't remember who just said it. It's a desert there. It is rock, and we're putting this deck above the rock, behind a seawall. I don't like the idea of the segmentation, and yes, I agree we should be within the 75. There's just not the real estate to do that. And I'm not sure that there's an advantage or a disadvantage to changing the dimensions of the deck. So, any discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by members of the public? Hearing none from either, maybe I could do a poll to see if there is support for the current proposal with a requirement to come up with a planting scheme that Brad could do for us that would repair the plants and quite possibly add some additional in there. And I think that would help with the wash water coming out of there. So with that, I would like to start going through and asking the fellow commissioners. Susan, what do you think? You
I
want
agree
to?
with your, I would support your recommendation.
Art,
Yes, that's fine with me.
Bert,
Yes.
Rick,
Yeah, Rick has moved, given that it's a desert, we're over rock and all the neighbors have this and there's a seawall in front. To Bert's point, there's no downside to the resource area, but I don't like the segmentation, I'll tell you that.
Right, I agree with that.
100%. Craig,
I am in agreement with everything Rick just said.
Jim,
I'd like it smaller, but given the compelling arguments by my peers, I will say fine.
Just one last time, I don't like the idea, but I can't talk myself out of it.
So how do you want to handle the plan? Brad can get us a plan. It's by Friday, maybe?
Yes, I could do that.
Okay, Brad, there's going to be 75% success at gross. There's going to be implementation by plan by the qualified wetland scientist. And I'm going to load that on the front end, okay, before he gets to deck. And then there'll be 2 years of monitoring, okay? So the front end is going to have planting and implementation plan, and then the deck can go.
I don't really have a problem with that. I just think that we're kind of held to time of year. And probably by the time that all works out, we'll be able to do some planting in here.
Okay.
We can make it better than it is now.
Yeah, with you involved, I think you're right.
So, given that, I would like to suggest a motion that we close and issue special orders of conditions, and to have Bill summarize those for us.
Okay, so you're going to issue orders of conditions with special conditions, and I will read them quickly. Registry post sets orders with Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, post a mass DEP sign, all standard stuff here. This is before commencing the work. Provide a mitigation planning plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist, including plant species, quantity, size, location, special requirements such as imported soils, the conservation administrator that will satisfy commission requirements, ensuring adequate density, integrity of native plantings, and 75% successive growth within 2 growing seasons as per 310 CMR 10.24 and 10.53. An implementation planning plan prepared and submitted by a qualified wetland scientist shall be submitted to the conservation administrator. Applicant shall observe 310 CMR 10.05 requirements that no work shall commence until all applicable administrative appeal periods have lapsed. Coordinate pre-construction site meeting with conservation administrator. During construction, ensure best management practices, current NFIP regulations, and building codes. We can strike that because there's no FEMA on the deck. Get rid of that. So the building codes are followed. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use coverage only. You've got a impervious table on this one, so we'll follow that. Then provide 2 annual monitoring reports prepared and submitted by a qualified wetland scientist to the conservation administrator. Post-construction, ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use impervious coverage only. Conclusion of the work, describe the plan, remove any erosion control. Required plantings are associated with the recorded certificate of compliance with the ongoing conditions that read, ensure that the plantings associated with the as-built dated September 25, 2019, prepared by Webby Engineering Associates, Inc., and stamped by Joseph Webby Jr., PLS, remains healthy and robust. This condition remains in perpetuity. Okay. We want the plants to get taken.
Do we have a second?
You're here on this one, Brad.
Second, Rick Carberry.
Thank you, Rick. So I would like to ask if you will vote to support that, Rick.
Yes, I will.
And let's see, I got to make sure I don't miss anybody here, like I've been doing. Chair Kilcoyne.
Yes, Jim Kilcoyne.
Commissioner Hannafin.
Greg Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Karen.
Karen, yes.
Commissioner Loggy.
Art Loggy, yes.
And Joe Ring will vote yes as well, and I believe that means we have a 7-0-0.
Okay, very good. So that gives you a little relief, Brad, but when he wants to go to build it, there'll be a permit and it won't get signed until that plan is in.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Have a good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to Second Road, 58 Second Road, in compliance with regulations, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, what was Marshfield, Chapter 294, what was detection, public hearing will be held by Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2021 at 6:30 by Zoom to consider a notice intent for 58 Second Road, and the hearing officer is Craig, and I'll make a note it is 9:05.
Okay. Bill, can you confirm taxes, fees, and abutters?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer. Taxes, January 20th, abutters on January 26th, file number on January 29th. Fees were paid on the 7th of January, published on the 27th of January. You're all set.
Thank you. This is an addition to a single-family home. The resource areas are Barrier Beach, Coastal Dune, and AE9 flood zone. Is someone here to present this?
Yes, good evening, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is John Zimmer, South River Environmental. You guys are lucky enough to be stuck with me for the rest of your hearings tonight, so I'm sorry. This project is in addition to a single-family home. The Conroys are recently moved to town in September of last year into the residence and want to add a kitchen on to the rear of the existing residence. It's a 16 by 16 addition that is raised up on helical piles since it is within Barrier Beach and Coastal Dune. The proposed work is also within the 100-foot buffer zone to a vegetated wetland, which is out the rear of the property. There's an existing fence that runs basically along the entire perimeter of the site. I'm not sure if folks had a chance to go out there and take a look at it. It's basically lawn all the way from the rear of the residence to the fence. The previous property owners actually maintained behind the fence, between the fence and the wetland, which is no longer going to occur. So we did also include some conservation posts on the back side of the fence or the western side of the fence. So there'll be no activities beyond the existing fence line. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. There is a small landing that's going to provide access to the backyard. About half of the addition is in the footprint of an existing deck, which will be removed. So it's about 8 feet of new structure that's going to go in.
Thank you. Bill, do you have comments?
No, I think John's kind of hit on all cylinders on that one. I did go out there. It's hard to see the wetland line if you go to the back, so I trusted John on this one. It's mostly Phragmites anyways. I think they're going to put up, I think we got conservation markers. I'm just trying to check on that.
Yes, they're going to be placed along the fence.
We do have them along the fence line.
All right, so the homeowners, the Conroys, should know that there'll be no down gradient, vegetative management, mowing, etc. So opposite the fence, you guys got to let it go natural. There are a couple high bush blueberries on the I guess up gradient side of the fence, and I'm not asking for anything special there, but it's a robust wetlands also at some point in time. The project is relatively straightforward. And I have got nothing more to really say.
Thank you. Any comments from the commissioners?
On here.
No, looks straightforward.
Sounds good.
Okay, yes, I have nothing to add. So is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment? If not, I suggest that we close and issue order of conditions with special conditions. Can you read those, Bill?
Okay, John, all the traditional ones. I'll try to get through them. They're going to record orders. They're going to post a Mass DEP sign. They'll obtain all subsequent permits. They will observe the 310 CMR. All applicable appeal administrative periods have lapsed. Get a pre-construction site visit with me. It's your best management practices and building codes are followed. Just killing off a line here that I put in. Should the footprint of the subsurface remains open or pervious coverage only as per, let me just verify this, the pervious table, which he gave to us. Yes. Okay, very good. And post 3 conservation markers as per The plan of record, the conservation markers and poster remain in perpetuity. Damage or decayed conservation posts and markers shall be replaced. Mowing and vegetative management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. This condition remains in perpetuity. At the end, provide an elevation cert, flood zone, yes, we'll do that. Ensure the footprint of the area remains open, and remove any erosion control at the end of the project. And that would be it, Madam Mayor. All yours.
Okay, thank you. So I move to close. May I have a second?
Art Loggy, second.
Commissioner Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Chairman Jim,
Gilcoin, yes.
Commissioner Art,
Art Loggy, yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes. So we are 7-0-0.
Very good.
All right, thank you, John. Will you be
Thank
staying
you very
with us,
much.
John?
I'm staying with you.
Yeah, you're on a roll, John.
Complies with the regulations,
That way.
Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetland Protection, public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission. February 2nd, 2021, 6:30 PM for Zoom to consider a notice of intent filed by 33 Plainfield Road. Hearing officer is Mr. Commissioner Ring. Move to my.
Thank you. This is an NOI to add a 18 by 22 addition that adds approximately 400 square feet of impervious area inside the 100-foot buffer. The work is entirely outside the 75. The area is within a buffer zone to a bordering vegetative wetland. Bill, can you confirm that abutters have been notified, taxes have been paid, fees have been paid, and I did not again find a DEP number?
Sorry, we didn't send it to you. I apologize, but we did get a DEP number. We got it on the 29th, which was Friday. We got a butters on the 26th, and then the taxes were paid on the 20th. Fees were paid on the 19th, and it was published on the 27th. So you're all set, Mr. Hearing Officer.
All right, awesome, thank you. Is there someone representing the Foleys to present this?
There is. For the record, John Zimmer, South River Environmental.
I suspected that.
Right. You summed it up pretty well. There's an existing house within the property, a pool within the rear. The Foleys are looking to put a small addition off to the west side of the existing house, within an area that's currently disturbed. There's an existing pool pump there that's going to be relocated. There's an existing BVW and an intermittent stream that was flagged by Brad Holmes. I did go out and check his wetland line and concurred with it. If you've been to the site, you've seen that there's a pretty significant drop off from both the side yard and the rear yard, probably 40 feet or so down to the wetland. So we have incorporated erosion controls around the limits of work. There are a couple of trees to the side within the 75 that would be taken down, and a little bit of grading around the edge of the addition just so they can maintain access around it. But other than that, that's pretty much it. The roofs will go into downspouts, and then there'll be an energy dissipator at the outlet. So we don't anticipate any stormwater issues associated with roof runoff.
So one question that I have for you, John, is I believe that the addition is going to be awful close to that very steep drop off. It looks almost like if you make one long step, you just went down 30 feet. What are the homeowners thinking about doing for getting around that structure?
Right, like I said, if I can share my screen, I can bring the site plan up. There's a little bit of grading around the edge of the addition so they can maintain access.
1 second. All right, coming your way.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yep.
All right. So if you see the slope really starts to get steep right around here and then goes down. They're going to do a little bit of grading around the 76 contour, just to keep a flat area so they can walk around the edge of the addition once it's done. And then we have erosion controls around the edge. And then that'll be loamed and seeded and stabilized.
Okay.
The one thing that I forgot to mention was that they did incorporate conservation markers. They're going to be in the middle of the woods, but they'll be at the limit of the 50. So they'll be there, just to ensure that there's no further encroachment down that slope.
But the day's getting long. I thought you had them already.
What was
Sorry,
that?
Rick. I already thought you've mentioned those. They must be getting long.
It is.
John, what's the addition going to sit on?
It's going to be on a concrete foundation, and there will be a basement in there as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Will the conservation administrator like to have any comment?
Sure. I mean, I talked to Mr. Foley. It was cold. That was a Jack Frost day, excuse me. And I had anticipated that some of these steeps, you could see from the pictures, would need to be moderated. He did talk about the possibility of using a rail or something. I would suggest that be allowed. We don't want anybody slipping on ice or anything and going down there. So that would be that. One of the things I would like to do, John, would you move towards your wetland flag A1, the closest conservation? No, the other direction. Yeah, your first conservation post. John, I'd like to see that personally moved up gradient. There's a tree line right up just to the left, just down gradient of 75. No, the other tree line. Right up there, John. I would like to see it there. Go down to the next one. I would like to see that one right about there. Keep going to the next one. First, these are my ideas, not the commission's. I would like to see that one bumped up right along the tree line. And the next one down that's a tricky one. That could be bumped up, but that is on the 50. It's deep in the woods. If you move it to 75, it's deep in the woods. So I just would like to see the line protected a little bit better.
I did discuss this a little bit with Mr. Foley. His preference is to maintain at least the first 3 at the 50. It's there is work allowed within the 50 to 75. And he'd like to protect his ability to do that. I don't think he has anything proposed, but for himself and potentially for future property owners. What we did discuss was in this area, bringing the conservation posts basically from here and then moving it out to the 75 behind the house, basically to the 70 contour, and then down to the property line from there.
Interesting. So go back to the first 3. If you look at the lines, commissioners, they're pretty tight. And the reason they're really tight is because they're steep. And if they're really steep, if you're going to use that, first you cut the trees, which affects the down gradient. And there's an intermittent stream down there. Second, it would mean fill. So, yeah. But that would mean fill back there.
And that's also a hypothetical. Right now, there's nothing proposed. If and when he ever decided to do anything there, it would obviously have to come to you for review and approval. So, at that time, if there was something proposed that had fill on that slope, you could either deny it or condition it to protect the resources.
Commissioner Ring, may I make a comment?
Yes, you may. Thank you.
I'm good with the markers where they are and proposed by the applicant at the 50 and wrap it around like it's just proposed.
Thank you. Any other discussion by commissioners?
No, agree with Jim.
Here.
Okay, so to make sure I got that, John, what you proposed on the conservation markers, not what I proposed on the conservation markers, was accepted by the commission. So you're going to wrap the back 3, not the front 3. Is that what I heard?
Correct. It would be.
Yeah, I hear. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we can get you a revised site plan by Friday.
Friday at 12 noon, John. Okay, so we'll have a new. All right.
So are there any comments from the public? Hearing none, I would like to close and issue orders of conditions with special conditions. Bill, would you summarize? please.
Yeah, John, you know the drill. And I didn't talk to Mr. Foley about this, but before you get the building permit signed off, you'll need both orders of conditions registered, post and mass DEP signed. There's a whole bunch of other stuff here. Just read page 13, you'll be all set. Observe that all applicable administrative periods have elapsed. Coordinate a pre-construction site meeting with me. During the construction, ensure that the conservation, the best management practices, I killed that again, and building codes are followed. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use pervious coverage only. Post 5 conservation markers inscribed with red and white as per the plan of record. And A, general information. Item 8, that's approved. The conservation markers and posts will remain in perpetuity. Damaged conservation posts and markers shall be replaced. Mowing and vegetative management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. Condition remains in perpetuity. Post-construction, ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open. Use pervious coverage only. And then take out the erosion control at the end. That's it.
Thank you, Bill. Do I have a second?
Craig Hannafin, second.
Thank you, Craig. So I would like to take a vote. Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Chair James.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
Commissioner Art.
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Rick Carberry, yes.
And Commissioner Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Joe Ring will also vote yes, so we have a 7-0. Motion carries.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Zimmer. Nice to see you again. All right. Complies with the regulation of Massachusetts General Laws 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act. Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. The public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by Zoom. Consider notice intent filed by 37 Constitution Road. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Rick.
Thank you, James. Thank you. This is our last hearing of the evening, everybody. It's almost 9:30. We're making progress. We're getting through this. So this is a new NOI. This is a raise and rebuild of a single-family home on a small lot for the Oriola family. Bill, can you confirm taxes, abutters, and DEP file number, please?
Sure, Mr. Hearing Officer. Excuse me. The DEP number came in on the 29th of January. The butters on the 26th of January. Taxes on the 20th of January. Fees were paid on the 19th of January, and it was published on the 27th of January.
Thank you, Bill. So this is land subject to coastal storm flowage. The existing structure is 960 square feet. The rebuild is going to be reduced to 786 square feet. And the entire lot, albeit small, is all previously disturbed with a good-sized driveway and some grass and some dirt and a fence all around it. John, are you up to present this one too?
Yes, I am.
Okay, be my guest.
All right, John Zimmer with South River Environmental. As Mr. Carberry said, this is a raise and rebuild of an existing single-family house. The design of the new house is basically being reduced to make it compliant with the setbacks from the town, so they don't need any waivers. And a portion of the residence will be located over the existing paved driveway. So what ends up happening is there's going to be about a 10% reduction in the amount of impervious area within the property. The foundation will be a solid FEMA compliant with smart vents. The property is not located within a coastal barrier beach or coastal dune. So the piling discussion that we had previously is not applicable to this property. There are also going to be 2 raised decks located in the front or north of the residence, and those will be supported with concrete footings. The remainder of the disturbed areas will be regraded and vegetated. The areas that are being converted from impervious to pervious. So that's then the flooring of the foundation is going to be a concrete slab overlain with a vapor barrier and 6 inches of crushed stone. All of the living space and utilities will be raised above the flood elevation in accordance with the commission's requirements as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, John. Mr. Mr. Grafton, comments from the administrator, please.
Yeah, I've been chatting with John on and off about this one. He's nailed most of what we agree on. So that's that. Excuse me. I was looking on the plan, John. I didn't see the resource areas. I know that can be done rather quickly. Bear with me. I'll pull the plan up here. That was the February one, I believe. Yeah.
Yep,
We put it on there. Sorry about that. You did put it. Property does not lie within a barrier beach. So that was my old note. That's covered. No problems there. We don't have on the impervious the driveway. A lot of the driveways in the AO flood zone. That was something I addressed with John. We have the wrong FEMA on here, but it actually gets better if you do the July 6, 2020. So it splits up the property. It's not all completely under AE9. It's partially AO flood zone and partially AE9. It'd be nice to have that on an updated plan so we actually know what we got there. Excuse me. The confusion I had was the base floor elevation is at 9.5 NAVD. Now, typically NAVD versus MSL, which is mean sea level, has a 0.88 foot difference. And I don't know if that 9.5 NAVD 88 meets the AE 9 plus 1, which would be elevation 10 criteria or not. So we need an engineer to get that answer to us.
Well, is that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bill, is that something that could be written in as a condition if you use a base standard elevation off of, which is at MSL versus NAVD 88?
Yeah, we don't have an engineer on this one. So the bottom line is this, is the FEMA uses, I believe, MSL, and this is on NAVD 88, which is a 0.8 difference. And so if it's 9.5 plus 0.88, then you way are over 10. But I'm not an engineer, so we need that cleared up.
So either way, it would be compliant.
Well, no. If it's 9.5 straight MLS, then it's short by 0.5.
Okay, I thought you were talking the other way around.
Up because you can't have habitable space below the required elevation or whatever it is, plus the 1 in this case. So that's that. And I don't know if the commission, is eager to see the driveway changed out or not. It is an AO flood zone, so the commission can be a little bit more forgiving on that, I guess. And I guess that's it on my comments.
Right, and as we were going through the hearing tonight, I did receive the updated site plan showing the AO AE differential. I just did introduce new information tonight.
Did you get the calculation on the driveway?
Yes.
Can you get a letter dealing with that 9.5? Because I'm just a little nervous that we need, we might not have what we need there. Okay. I just want to confirm that that's going to be meeting the criteria, which is AE 9 plus 1.
Yes, I'll confirm that all the utilities and living space will be above, and first floor will be above the base flood elevation.
Should I write that in as a criteria on the special conditions? I personally prefer it on a plan.
You could write it in as a special condition requiring it on the plan. That would be fine.
You're basically voting on what appears to be okay. I just don't know.
Yeah, I'll open it up to the other commissioners. I have some comments after you folks chime in here.
Good, Rick.
Go ahead, Tim.
No, I said I'm good. I think we could condition it, as John said, to have it on the plan.
Yeah. So other commissioners, before I kind of summarize where we are.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
One question, Rick, is this going to be another one of these issues with the ground floor living space?
Yeah, possibly. That's why I was trying to get this straightened out. If they've made it to the 10 then,
Yeah, but that's the first floor. The garage is under, right? And there's,
Yeah, the garage is under.
So
So the
you-
first floor has to be at 10,
yeah, the top of it.
the top of it. So it just seems to me there's a bunch of things we got to get cleared up. We got to get this elevation and flood zone issue cleared up. I have not seen the February updated plan. I don't have an impervious table on any of the plans I have. So we need to get that done. And I guess there was no stamped engineering drawing on several of the sheets. You know, there was no indication of who did the drawings and what the dates were. Yeah, so I guess those are the items that we really need to get cleaned up, and I think this project is good to go. And you know, from my perspective, you know, we typically, rather than chase people with special conditions and items that we're kind of short on, you know, typically require you know, all this stuff to be updated and put on the plan, so it's we have a perfectly documented set of records here. And I know that'll take another couple weeks to do if we push this to the 16th, but that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah, it's a good call, Rick. We did send over the digital version, but it's very difficult for commissioners to digest a hard copy, digital, whatever, and just make the determination on which is the most current. My write-ups come in a little later and everything too, so that didn't help much. So what would be best, I think, is to clean these things up, John. And one of two things happens. Either that 9.5 is okay, and the engineer said it is. I think that the original plans, their building sheets, you know, they weren't stamped. Well, I don't know who did them. So I don't know if they're just things we should not pay attention to, or we should have some kind of value to them. They were part of the original existing and proposed packet, and then they were the building sheets like A1 through 4, C, F1 through 3, etc. No stamps.
Commissioner Rick,
Yes.
I agree with you. I think we should continue for that information. I think your counsel's good. That it's a good practice, and we should continue it.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, you were on a roll there, but this one I think may get continued. We'll have to see how the commissioners vote, but that would be my proposal. Short list of things to clean up. It's a good project. It's a nice spot over there. I drove by it today, and I think the homeowner will be really happy when the project gets done. So I'm going to make a motion to continue until the February 16th, which gives you enough time, John, to get your short list of to-dos accomplished.
Yes, I have my short list almost done already. I have a revised site plan with a stamp on it, so.
Sorry about that, John. Does he need to deal with the driveway at all?
With respect to,
I'm talking to the hearing
Needs
officer.
to be in the impervious table, right?
yeah, the impervious table has been updated to include the driveway. So, like I said, I have the plan. I just didn't want to introduce it this evening.
Will he be allowed to keep it?
Yes, yeah, the driveway is actually going to get reduced in size because a portion of the new house is going to go over the existing driveway. So the driveway will be there, but it'll be smaller than it is now.
Is
Yeah,
that acceptable?
The width will be reduced to 24 feet. So, all right, let me rewind. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue. Do I have a second until February 16th? Do I have a second?
Second, Art Loggy.
Art, we'll give it to Art.
Second, Art. All right, roll call vote. Commissioner Susan. Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Art.
Art Loggy, yes.
Thank you, Art. Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
And Chairman Jim.
Jim Gilcoin, yes.
And lastly, Rick Carberry is also a yes. So we pass 7-0-0.
Okay, very good. All right, John, it shouldn't be too painful.
All right.
Thanks,
everybody.
John.
All right. Have a good
Marathon
night.
tonight with us. We do it every Tuesday. Come back every Tuesday like this.
I'll do my best. Thanks.
All right, so we're moving to the final portion of the evening. The most exciting, certificate of compliances. So the first one here is SC 422581 DEP Recreational Department, Peter Igo Park. I think we're all very familiar with Peter Igo Park. This is one aspect of the park. Patrick Brennan has been kind enough to help out the town to get all our permits in order. The dock will have be shown on the as-built of the comprehensive portion that Patrick will be submitting later on. The dock has been adjusted over the summer with the help of Harbor Master Mayo to be compliant with a Chapter 9110A, which is a Harbor Master float. So it's no longer a standard Chapter 91 dock. The Harbor Master kind enough to provide us with the float permit. So I'm going to make a motion that we waive the requirement for the as-built because we're going to capture it in the comprehensive one that Patrick's going to do later for the project. Issue a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions that the flow system is currently maintained and permitted under the Marshfield Harbor Master's jurisdiction, and a valid Chapter 9110A permit, which is 001/2021, which will be renewed as required. If the float system changes to meet the criteria for a dock system, then a new notice of intent shall be prepared and submitted to the Conservation Commission, Conservation Permit Review and Determination. The maintenance of the remaining dock ramp to option to stabilize with helical piles or the equivalent, which is a Harbor Master float. Per orders of SE 422581, I look for a second for that.
Just one
Second, O'Donnell.
before you vote, one clarification. It's a deck ramp in those cases, and two locations. So it was classified as a deck. We don't know exactly why. We want to stay consistent.
So the maintenance of the remaining deck ramp, option to stabilize with the hill composite equivalent as per the original or conditions, SE 422581 is permitted. Thank you, Mr. Grafton. I look for a second.
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
All in favor? Craig. Mr. Craig, where are you?
Greg Hannafin, yes.
Mr. Rick.
Rick Carber, yes.
Mr. Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Mr. Susan.
And Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. You're the proud owner, Patrick, of a 9110A float.
Who's the second, please?
It was
Bert.
Burt.
Thanks.
Thanks,
you. Okay, the next one's an extension for Halliday. Thanks, Patrick, for all you're doing for the town.
Okay, and so next is SE 2701 Halliday 98 Terrace. We're going to vote to issue a 3-year extension of the order of conditions with a new expiration date of 4/4/24. Would I have a second for the extension?
Second,
Craig.
Greg Hannafin.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Craig.
Greg Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Rick Carber, yes.
Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
And Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joseph.
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. So we got it, Bill. All right, so now, the most exciting part of the evening, I am going to make a motion, and I'm looking for a second. Commission closed the meeting of the Marshfield Conservation Commission on February 2nd, and I would like to give the honor to Art.
Oh, that's great. I want to
you,
wish
Art.
everyone a happy Groundhog Day.
We can make a motion to close the meeting, sir.
Yes, and I'm seconding that.
All right, thank you, Arthur. So we'll do a roll call vote, and we'll give Arthur the go-ahead again. Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Rick Carber, yes.
Mr. Craig.
Greg Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
And Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
And Jim Kilcoyne is a yes as well. Thanks, guys. We were a little
Hi, everyone.
slow this evening,
Thank you,
just so
guys.
you know. That's my feedback, a little painfully slow. But we got through it and we made good decisions.
Well, when the groundhog comes out of the hole and he sees a wetland, that means the meeting is going to go 3 hours.
Very good.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Good night.